Well, the haters gonna hate, 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 and the fakers gonna fake, 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 baby. I'm just gonna make, making luck, a Dominion podcast.
This is still so crazy to me that this just randomly happened.
Yeah, it is. Now that my hair is different and I'm, losing it again, which is super great, but, it actually looks a little more like this guy.
Yeah? Well, you have pupils, though.
Right. I mean, I got really crappy sleep last night, but, I don't know. I still don't have the bags under the eyes that this guy does.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Give it some time. Maybe another kid.
There will not be any more kids for multiple reasons.
Okay.
Reason number one is we don't want any more kids.
That's a pretty important one.
Yeah. Reason number two is we are using a very effective form of contraception.
Fedoras.
And reason number three... Reason number three is...
Or I should have said, Dominion.
Dang it. And reason number three is, I don't think I can have kids anymore. The chemo by itself was enough to destroy that, and then they gave me a lethal dose of radiation. And, yeah.
Well, it wasn't a lethal dose of radiation in this case, at least, which is good.
I guess. But it's considered a lethal dose because without a transplant right there, you're going to die because you have no immune system.
But they had the transplant, presumably.
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
That's very convenient.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it wasn't all right, we did the thing. Oh, I forgot Sorry.
Yeah, and even when you do that,
hang tight.
there's a 15% chance that it just doesn't work.
And you die.
Yeah, you can't recover from that. So,
yeah.
You ever think about, I got to roll a d20, and if I get a 3 or lower, I'm dead.
Yeah, or you could think about in Dominion Opens where it's okay, I can open these two cards, but if they collide, wow, this is really disastrous. But if it doesn't, I'm way ahead. That's kind of what happened to you, except in this case, they didn't.
I'm not way ahead.
Well, you're ahead of not being alive. If you think about that,
I am ahead of not being alive.
Yeah,
by some measures.
Your terminals did not collide in your body.
That's actually not as inappropriate as you might think. Thanks, Jake.
Yeah.
Welcome to Making Luck,
a Dominion podcast.
It's been a minute, huh?
Yeah, no, I was just happy Adam let me out of the little room in the basement, so that I could be here with you all.
Yeah, I was getting kind of lonely because we haven't left the house in 2 years.
Oh, you want to talk about lonely?
Let's. Okay. I guess lonely in the sense that, there are other people in this house.
Yeah, not in that room, though. Yeah.
Not in that room. But
crazy. It's very dark in there. But I have Elden Ring to keep me company, like most of everybody under 30 I've been playing, or under 35 or so. I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah. Where does Adam feel included? But I
don't play the game, so it's good that I'm 36.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So we're good.
But yeah, no, it's that's been life.
With my spare moments, which aren't many, I've been attempting to play Dominion.
Okay, how's that going?
It went really poorly at first.
Okay.
Because I couldn't play without being very nauseous. And, if you look right over there, there's my vomit bag right there on the shelf.
You really hate travelers that much?
Well, what can I say?
Yeah.
I think I've finally gotten to the point where I can play. Remember, when the Nintendo 64 first came out? And, Turok Dinosaur Hunter was, one of 2 games that released with it, along with Super Mario 64. Mm-hmm. And Mario 64 was fine, but because it wasn't first person, but Turok Dinosaur Hunter was a first person shooter on the Nintendo 64 in 3D. and they had obviously never done this before because you couldn't play that game for longer than like 15 or 20 minutes without getting car sick.
It's funny because what you're describing is playing out, or has been playing out, and kind of still is with VR. That same dynamic where like the older VR games.
I remember when I borrowed your Oculus.
Yeah.
And I played that free demo of the roller coaster game. Oh my god! Like I couldn't sit down and keep my eyes open during that game for more than a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Like I had to shut my eye. It was horrible.
And it's interesting with a game like that because some of the motion sickness is intentional, like because it's a it's supposed to emulate that experience, but some of it is, especially for other kinds of games, is actually just because of frame rate and poor optimization. And
actually, that I've heard. Was it you talking to me about that? I don't think so.
Maybe
I've heard of that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, but long story short, VR is getting a lot better at not making you sick by just...
Beat Saber's great.
Yeah, Beat Saber is very good. Yeah. Some of the higher end one. Beat Saber is kind of doing something that's very easy to do and not make you sick though. Not
you
like
are standing.
Yeah, right. You're not. There's no locomotion.
And that was, it was really convenient because like my hospital room that stay was super tiny, so I didn't really have any room to move around. And when like nurses would come in and see me like we're on a cancer floor, like this doesn't normally happen. Like, I got a vacation away from the kids, and, like, this drug is... It was less bad than the other ones. It was pretty sweet.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, you gotta rock out, man. You gotta get your cardio.
I played, like, all the games that didn't require me to hack your Oculus. I played all the songs on Beat Saber, and decided I didn't want to buy a new Oculus to hack.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah. That's a good time.
It was...
Hey, Jake.
We were here for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so, Jake.
Yeah.
Have you tried the new Girl Scout cookie this year?
I've not.
They're called Adventurefuls.
I like that Girl Scout is continuing to branch out and just be adventurous.
Yeah, like the s'mores one. I'm glad they did it. I don't think it was super great, but I'm really glad they did it. And these are Adventurefuls.
Oh, wow. There's not many left in the box. So that's a bit of a spoiler, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Let's try the adventure. I've tried them before, but let's try the Adventurefuls on the podcast.
No, this is surprising.
We're like reliving the glory days here.
Yeah.
Of like trying food that we found at a gas station.
We never did land that sponsorship. But yeah.
Yet.
Maybe this will be the day.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Pick your favorite.
I'll take this one.
We'll both have one.
Okay.
These
Seems
are
good to me. Yeah, no, it's really good.
It says indulgent brownie-inspired cookies with caramel flavored creme and a hint of sea salt.
Nice.
And, I mean, they're not too chocolatey.
I feel very adventurous, too.
If you want to have the other one,
no.
feel free.
No. That's good. I gotta watch my figure in case I'm on any other podcasts that have a video element.
Oh, yeah. I have to watch my figure, too, but I'm trying to gain weight, so I'm good.
Yeah, no, this is really convenient then.
Well, Jake.
Yeah.
It turns out
Dominion is still here and still like they made a new set.
Yeah. And I didn't do jack for playtesting, okay?
Right. I didn't either. I think that goes kind of without saying, especially because I don't play Dominion these days. I might come back, though. Maybe this will be the impetus.
When was the last time you played, like, any Dominion at all whatsoever?
I've logged on to the client, like, periodically to just, like, do a few games or what have you.
Against a bot or a human?
A human, but like...
Nice. You've played more than I have.
Nice. Yeah, I also
true.
just want to point out, it's funny because hasn't Donald said it was going to be the last set for like the last like 4 or 5 sets?
He stopped saying that.
Oh, he's stopped with that little...
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's I still have access to the playtesting stuff, and I did play like 1 or 2 games in February 2021 on Tabletop Simulator when I was inpatient for my transplant. I'm gonna be honest. A lot of that has been blocked out from my memory.
Okay.
And not all of that was allies. But there were like a couple of cards that I did kind of remember-ish. And I played like 1 or 2 games. However, given that's the entirety of my playtesting experience.
Yeah.
And I've kind of intentionally sheltered myself from it. Like I could have gone and read everything.
Yeah.
I wanted to, but when Donald X told me you don't have to wait to release this stuff.
Right.
You can do it like right away. I'm like, yes, I want to give my screaming hot takes.
Babe in the Woods, these are our Virgin Dominion analyses. Virgin is in, we have not yet been impregnated by our knowledge of the... This is not a good motif, but yeah.
Any more knowledge that you all would have. Like, I mean, I played some games during preview week, and I played like a couple of games against a bot, and like 1 or 2 games against a couple of humans. But like, a lot of these cards, a lot of these allies, just have not played with simply.
Yeah, so we're both kind of coming at this from the same position where we are new to this content, but we're quote-unquote veteran Dominion players.
We have a good grasp of the fundamentals of the game, which gives us the ability... No, I'm serious. Which gives us the ability to evaluate new cards that we've never seen before. And that actually matters a whole lot for this expansion.
Yeah.
Because of the new mechanic.
Yeah, and this is going to be really interesting. It's kind of like Nocturne in a way when we were trying to evaluate that, where it's like we can think about, what these cards do just reading the text, but it's kind of hard to visualize what these mechanics mean in a certain way because they're kind of, I understand, delivered in a way that's different from the way that we've seen card text delivered via other expansions.
I don't really know what that means, but you sounded really smart when you said it.
All I just mean is, like, Nocturne, like, we read this card text, it's like, that seems really strong or very weak, but then, like, the whole concept of it not happening in the action phase or whatever threw off a lot of that analysis. I think some of the allies and the rotating piles are going to kind of work the same way with these favor tokens, because I found myself reading some of this text, I glanced over it beforehand, and evaluating the power, but it's really hard to do if I don't know how plentiful and how easy these favor tokens are going to be to get.
Yeah, like if you want to evaluate an ally, it kind of depends, like, are you going to be able to get a big frickin' stack of favor tokens?
Yeah.
Or, like, are favor tokens really hard to come by? That matters, but, like, why would you evaluate an ally? That doesn't make any sense to me, but people want to do it anyway, I guess.
Okay, so I have a thought on why you would evaluate an ally, and I think it's going to be pertinent because we're going to be doing our signature ratings out of 10 here.
I would love to hear this.
Yeah,
I'm not being sarcastic.
No. When we rate these out of 10, it's kind of like rating a landmark, which is a conversation that you brought up earlier, which, like, does it make sense to do that? Not in the same way as a supply pile, as in like, oh, I'm going to choose to buy this, and my decision to do that is rated out of 10. No. It's more the fact that when you see a landmark, or you see this in this case, you're going to decide how much it is going to impact your play. How much you have to, quote-unquote, respect the presence of this thing. And so when we rate these out of 10, I think what we're rating is how likely you are to engage with these favor tokens and these allies when otherwise that wouldn't be your game plan.
Yeah, I think another way of saying it that was more the mental model I have, and I think it especially rings true for like a card like Underling, where it's just a cantrip that gives you a favor. Like,
sure.
How do you even evaluate? How do you give that a number? Because that could be any one of 23 different cards.
Sure, yeah.
And like, I mean, I gave it a number, but that's just kind of shooting for the middle of the pack. How good is that? How much does that matter? And maybe, I didn't give every single ally like a rating out of 10.
Sure.
But, if it gets a big rating, or if it's really strong or impactful, maybe that's going to bump up a card like Underling, whose entire identity is the favor token that it gives you.
Yeah.
Above the number that I gave it that was kind of shooting for the middle. And, my numbers are, like, super accurate.
Yeah, for
historically
sure.
speaking.
Yeah.
Actually, that's true, they are, but I have an unfair advantage because I played with cards before.
Fair enough.
Guess what?
Not this time.
Not this time.
Yeah.
I barely played any Dominion against a human opponent in 2 years. It's gonna be so good.
Yeah, and am in a very similar bucket in that respect.
It's gonna be so good.
Yeah. So I guess we're evaluating out of 10 how bright the big blinking sign of these allies is that says "pay attention to me" in a given kingdom, right?
And like most landmarks, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, maybe a slight push me towards that way. But then there's like Bandit Fort, and there's Wolf Den, and then there's like a couple of other ones. You know? And like Bandit Fort can sometimes make you seriously reconsider your entire strategy,
or sometimes be, I don't care that this is here, I'm going to do the same thing I was going to do anyway.
That also happens sometimes, but like you need to go through that thought process before evaluating a kingdom. Well, I guess you don't need to, but I would really recommend it.
Yeah, so that in mind, maybe a quick overview of what allies do. I see that these are horizontal, so I assume they take up one of your standard, quote-unquote, 2 horizontal card slots. So like, this would be in place of like an event or a landmark, right?
Right, but there can only be one ally. You can't possibly have 2 allies in a game.
That's important.
Okay. Where the thing about ways, it was a recommendation not to use 2 ways in a given kingdom. This is a rules requirement. You may only have 1 ally.
Okay, I'm actually really curious about that because somebody had to come up with that restriction, right? Like that had to be determined to be a thing that they said, hey, we shouldn't allow this. And I wonder what is the significance of that? Mechanically, why was it determined bad to have 2 allies?
I don't know.
I guess we don't know that, but I'd be curious, and like, because that might have some like implications for power level and things, right?
There could be a legitimate answer, but I don't know it.
Fair enough. Maybe we can find that out at a later date. Maybe not. Doesn't really matter. Just curious. Yeah.
But there should be like a lot more episodes of this podcast, so we can just revisit that when we find it out, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And you're definitely going to be on all of those episodes, right?
If I can get out of that little room, yeah. For sure. So, I guess maybe we should start tearing into the allies themselves, right?
Yeah, sure. And I don't really have a ton to say about most of them.
Fair enough.
But here's the first page of allies. It's the alphabetically first 11 out of 23. There's 2 that I think are worth mentioning. Architect's Guild. When you gain a card, you can spend 2 favors to do a haggler effect.
Yeah.
And then there's Family of Inventors, which at the start of your buy phase, you may put a favor token you have on a non-victory supply pile. Cards cost 1 less per favor token on their piles, but that's for everybody. That really, really messes with things like trash for benefit cards, or really anything that cares about the cost of a card. And it just makes you see a lot of things in a completely different way. And there's a little bit of cool counterplay. I'm not saying that they're like the most strong things, but these can potentially have the biggest impact and like actually affect what you're doing strategically and make you want to. Well, Architect's Guild would really like you to get a lot of favor tokens. With Family Inventors, you don't really need that many of them to really screw things up.
Yeah, no. For sure, the Family of Inventors was definitely like really hard for me to evaluate. I wanted to actually call out Circle of Witches because this is really interesting in that it's a cursing attack, which we all know that those are really powerful. But like a lot of cursing attacks, there's this sort of implicit dynamic of you put like a bad card into your deck initially, quote unquote bad, if you don't
underpowered for the cost.
Yeah, if you don't consider the cursing effect, right? So like there's this idea that you're quote unquote cursing yourself once to have this curse generator to give out to your opponents, right? And some cards challenge that a little bit, like Witch is just a like decent enough card, and it has a cursing attack that pushes it over the top.
But like Sea Hag is
the big
example of the other direction.
Exactly. Young Witch, or like Familiar, you have to put the potion in your deck, which so this is a little different in that you might be playing liaisons and getting favor tokens just anyway.
Yeah, liaisons tend to not be garbage.
Yeah, and so the fact that there's just this cursing attack out there that can just exist with very little... You have to spend the favor tokens to use this, but the idea that there's a very low deck building cost to being able to put this cursing attack out when you compare it to something like, of course, Sea Hag, or even Young Witch, or even, in some cases, Witch, right? So I think that this is going to be a really powerful thing to consider in most of these. 3 favor tokens is a non-trivial cost. But,
yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, a lot of junkers, especially the ones that don't cost at least 5.
Yeah.
You can get that junking going right away. And by the time you get your liaison, which may cost 5, and then get those favor tokens to enough to actually curse them, when you're done playing the liaison itself, like, that could be a lot later than most other cursing attacks, which I think is good design.
Yeah, I would agree. Later junking, so the junking is going to be less, like, central to the game, but I think it's going to be very prominent. I think it's going to, like, almost assuredly happen in every game where this is, like, on the field. So the junking is always going to have to be something you think about when this is out there. So
I don't even know if I told you this. You start the game with a favor token, kind of like Baker. You start the game with the coffers. Whenever there's a liaison, you start the game with a favor token.
Okay. Well,
I don't know if I told you that.
No, but that's that's significant.
It matters for stuff like Cave Dwellers a lot. That matters in the opening.
Yeah,
like you can spend a favor to Citygate, kind of. Well, not Citygate. Discard and then draw.
Yeah.
Cause that shuffle, basically.
Let's talk about Cave Dwellers for a second, because Cave Dwellers was one that I read Cave Dwellers before I had read much of the liaisons, and my analysis is kind of the same. I want to see, like, how much do these liaisons lend themselves to a sort of quote-unquote sloggy, or I think we've called it, like, a good stuff strategy, or
money
whatever.
Density paradigm deck?
Yeah, however you want to call it. Yeah, deck. Yeah, decks where you're not necessarily going for, like, consistently drawing your whole deck, but decks where you're just trying to have, like, good output, good, like, consistent high output turns. Yeah. I feel like Cave Dwellers is really, really powerful in that context.
There are a number of these liaisons that definitely support a money density more than they do a deck that tries to draw itself every turn.
Yeah, right. And just to, these will be on screen, but for audio listeners, Cave Dwellers is at the start of your turn. You can spend a favor to discard a card and draw a card, and do that as many times as you want.
As many times as you have favor tokens, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the being able to, like, give that consistency to money strategies, provided money strategies aren't going out of their way to get favor tokens. That's going to really speed up money strategies and make going for a quick score points with a, like, sloggy kind of deck strategy maybe more appealing than I'm going to be able to draw my whole deck consistently and take a little longer in the setup kind of strategy. I
think the coffers analogy is actually kind of neat because, like, coffers definitely help money density decks more than they help the whole deck paradigm. I mean, if you draw in your deck, a coffers is the same as a coin. If you're spending most of them every turn. And that's not always true, but, like, it gets much better when your deck has to spike a high price point to get what it wants, and then, like, I have this coffers to smooth out my draws to get them right where I want them. That's just so good for money density, and it can be. I mean, with Cave Dwellers in particular, and, like, a couple of these other allies, for surezies.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else you wanted to hit on with this page of 11 here?
Well, I did want to point one out that gains a card. So the Crafters Guild. At the start of your turn, you can spend 2 favors to put a card that costs up to 4 on top of your deck.
So Armory for 2 favors at the start of your turn, yeah.
Yeah, I think that this one is like a 7 or 8 out of 10 for me if it's gaining a village, particularly, or a smithy. Like, and by those I mean like like something that draws or something that is a village effect.
So if you want to draw your deck and you want to throw some deck control on top of your deck that you're going to need because you saw your starting hand.
Yeah, or just in general, because, like, that's just, it goes on top of your deck, so, like, you have to either be, like, drawing cards during your turn, or you have to just be setting up a good turn for next turn and want to do that consistently every turn to make sure you kick off every turn.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, I feel like this is really good in that context. If you're gaining something that's like guaranteeing a kickoff, like a village or draw.
You wanna make it so that gain it onto your deck is as close to gain to hand as possible.
Yeah.
It's like gaining to hand is just so freaking amazing, right?
Or have it just be something you just do every turn to guarantee a good turn. every turn. So like you do it this turn, and it's not relevant at all this turn, but it's relevant that you do it every turn, right? I mean, that's less sexy than just drawing it.
Sure, the fact that you get to have a lot of information means that you pay attention to what you might need next turn, if that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
And you put a relevant card on top of your deck. I mean, that's just going to reward good play, good deck tracking.
Yeah. Sure. Now, before we move on, I know you had some things to say about Family of Inventors. Maybe we could go into some detail about that.
I mean, I'm not going to say that it's like particularly powerful, especially to get lots of favor tokens. This is the one that at the start of your buy phase you get to stick a favor token on a pile and it reduces the cost of that pile.
Yeah,
because it reduces the cost for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that it changes the landscape, the tactical landscape of the game in a way that like you just really haven't ever seen before. Like Fairy can kind of mess with the relative costs of cards.
Oh, does it change them while you have them as well?
Well, so Fairy, it's during your turns. So, like, if I have Fairy and I put Fairy on Governor, and then I play Governor for Remodel, and then my opponent can, like, remodel estates into Governors, and, like, I feel bad. Or, like, Fortress into Governor, or, like, some garbage like that.
Yeah.
Like, Fairy can mess with the tactical landscape by messing with the relative costs of cards.
That is interesting, yeah.
Most other things that mess with the cost of cards will only do it, like, for action cards, or, like, their quarry, where it happens in your buy phase, and it's really hard to take advantage of something like that.
Sure.
And it doesn't usually affect the math of like, oh, I'm going to play my remodel.
Sure.
And now I can remodel Curson to silver. That's the only way it matters when you hit 0, right? If I buy a canal, I can remodel Curson to silver because I hit 0.
We've also seen this dynamic before with Bridge Troll, right? Bridge Troll kind of does some very similar.
It hits your trash for benefit cards.
Yeah.
And some of the trash for benefit cards. Yeah.
Yeah, and we all know that Bridge Troll has historically, for many reasons, that being one of them, been a very centralizing card to kingdoms. Now, this doesn't come with any plus buy effect, Family of Inventors, so it needs a little bit of support to get to those kinds of proportions for kingdom importance, but still.
But when it comes to tactical stuff, like especially, what does my opponent want to do next turn? Can I stick a favor token on a pile to screw with them?
Yeah.
If like upgrade or remake is in the kingdom and I'm hitting exactly, or remodel.
Yeah.
If I see them wanting to remodel something, golds into provinces, make golds cost 5. You, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's weird. I was only thinking about it in terms of, like, the positive things you could do for your own turns. But, yeah, you can be really mean that way. Or mean or just,
competitive.
Yeah.
Is the way I choose to see it.
Sure, yeah. That's a very interesting way to play it. Yeah, no. Cool design on these, I'd say.
Right. It's just, I played a couple of games with this thing, and it's like, I'm doing calculations that I've never done in a game of Dominion before, and like that's what I love to see out of something that is just simple mechanically.
Yeah,
but it was just excellent design. I wish I could take some credit for that. Every single one of these things just comes from Donald X's brain.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Anything else on this page? You want to go to the rest of the allies?
No, we can move on here.
All right, the second half of the allies. There's 12 more. There's 23 allies. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Every liaison is 23 kingdom cards.
I gave one of these. So we haven't been going into the ratings out of 10 here because they're not that important. But
I think the highlights are important.
Yeah. So for me, I will say like when I rate a card out of 10, I do that very judiciously. I do not give many 10s. Like for me, a 10 is like this is the as powerful. This is as powerful as a Dominion card is. One of these I read. I'm like, okay, this is the easiest 10 of my life.
Ooh, which one is 10?
It? What was it called?
Easiest 10 of my life. Island Folk.
Island Folk. Yeah. No, I was like, yeah, this is insane. Like,
yeah, I think the only way this isn't totally nuts is like if Emissary is your only liaison. It's just really hard to get a lot of favors with that card.
Sure, fair enough, but like
other than that, it's like give me all of the favors. Just shove them in my face.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is centralizing. This is like a, no matter what else is going on in the kingdom, I think, unless it's like something where there's some really fast money strategy that centralizes way quicker, or some combo or something that makes it irrelevant, I think Island Folk is going to be the centerpiece of almost every kingdom it's in. Outposts tends to be, and it's way worse than this, right? Yeah, for the record, Island Folk says at the end of your turn you can spend 5 favors to take another turn. So you even got your turn to accrue these 5 favors, and taking turns is good. I really like to do that. Yeah, you've
talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, like I like to take turns. That's a good thing to do, I think.
Yeah, usually the person who takes more turns wins the game.
Yeah, I would. True.
You know why? Because you play action cards on your turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to Making Luck.
A Dominion podcast.
Turn-taking podcast.
Yeah, where we play actions. Yeah. We talk about how great that is.
Yeah. That was one of the ones that I thought was a standout as well. And, I mean, obviously, it's nuts.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Any other standouts for you?
Not for power, but just in general. League of Bankers I thought was kind of awesome thematically. I like how you're getting interest on your favorite tokens.
I like cool. that too. I also think that it is a standout.
Yeah.
Now, it requires a way to get just like a buttload of favor tokens.
Yeah, right.
But if you can just get like... so League of Bankers, at the start of your buy phase, it gives you $1 for every 4 tokens you have, round down. But you don't have to spend those tokens. You can just hold them and live off the interest. So if you can get like 8 or 12 favor tokens.
Right.
It is so good for like anything you want to do. It's ridiculous how good that is. And then, okay, I guess we have to mention, and if you buy a villa, then you get another buy phase and you get money from... Woo! Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's ways to... Although, I will say Villa is potentially more significant than it sounds, because one of the things League of Bankers needs to be relevant is, of course, plus buy, right?
Plus buy, and also, like, if you have 3 money... If you have 12 favors to give you 3 money at the start of every buy phase, it's like Villa Quarry. You can empty that pile whenever you want.
Right.
And if you have more... then you're getting positive money from buying villas. It messes with the math.
It does. And so, we could call that out as something significant, but I think we all know at this point that Villa does really weird stuff. Like,
Villa is a pretty card, yeah.
It's good. Like, it's just like every time we start talking about Villa in a Dominion conversation, we start talking about weird things Villa does. So I think we just kind of accept that Villa creates space-time anomalies. And, I want to call it Peaceful Shepherds. Mostly because...
Plateau Shepherds? Or Peaceful Cult?
Plateau Shepherds is what I meant. But yeah, I guess. When scoring, you put your favors together with your 2 cost cards, and you get 2 points per each pair of them, right?
So it's kind of like a landmark.
Yeah, and it's like, it's weird because it's obviously state synergy, and I want to say and 2 cost synergy
and Bobble synergy, because Bobble is the 2 cost liaison.
Right, I gave this either a 3 or an 8, and there's
That's such a Jake rating.
I know, but there's like no in between for those. I'm not saying between 3 and 8. I'm saying this is either really
8
important
with Bobble.
Yeah. Or or estate synergy, because I want to
estate pile-outs.
Estate synergies, like things like inheritance and shepherd and whatever. They tend to be kind of light switchy. Like they're either like extremely important or super not, as opposed to like Smithy or whatever.
I'm just gonna go out and say that almost all of the time they're super not, but this.
Well, they're like, I mean, whatever. Like it's hard to give this on average, because like it's gonna be like the rest of those estate synergy cards, where it's like it's either going to centralize the kingdom or it's going to be completely ignorable, and there's no like in between for it, I don't think.
Yeah, I believe that. I had one that I wanted to point out. It was Order of Shopkeepers.
Okay, what was that? What was that thing do?
I'm sorry, it's League of Shopkeepers. Jeez, I'm
so
embarrassed.
Order of Leagues.
Yeah, Order of Leagues. After you play a liaison, if you have 5 or more favors, get $1. If you have 10 or more, you also get an action and a buy.
That is really interesting, isn't it?
I think the important ones are, when you have 10 or more, because this is Lost Arts.
Yeah, that's actually something that I
on your liaison
thought as well, is like the best cases for this is really hard to evaluate, but the best cases for it that I'm thinking of are giving Lost Arts vibes, and Lost Arts is obviously very, very powerful. So
the buy matters as well. I'm thinking Broker, which really loves to have that action, so you can treat it as an apprentice.
Yeah.
There was if Emissary just looks really good, but good luck getting 10 favors with that card. If you happen to have that in another liaison, good for you. Those are the two liaisons that I think would benefit the most from having Lost Arts on them. But still, like, Lost Arts is a 10 out of 10, and I don't think anyone out there disagrees with that, right?
I'm very judicious with 10s, but
good
like,
talk.
My 10s are like Goons, King's Court, and now this island whatever thing that we.
But not donate.
No, donate. Well, wait, did I not give?
You might have given donate an 11.
Oh yeah,
that's something you would do.
Donate's donate's special, but yeah,
my decision to give Lost Arts a 10 out of 10, and therefore Capitalism a 10 out of 10, has gotten a lot of backlash, and I stand behind it. Like,
yeah, no.
This is why it's important to remember that card ratings are extremely subjective.
Yeah.
And my 10 out of 10 does not necessarily equal Jake's 10 out of 10, obviously.
Right, because we're not just talking about the power level of the card, which we might have differences on.
What does that even mean?
We're talking about our systems, which have differences. But, I also think standout for power level potentially is Peaceful Cult.
Peaceful Cult.
Yeah, at the start of your buy phase, you may spend any number of favors to trash that many cards from your hand. That's just really powerful trashing. I don't really...
And you start with a favor, you get to do it before you shuffle.
Yeah,
it's real good.
Yeah, you get to, turn your 10 card for shuffling, or whatever. You minimize the chance that one of your opening buys misses the shuffle by trashing an estate early. You get to, throughout the game, just be turning your favor tokens into extra trashing. That's just a really strong thing to have.
Trashing is really good.
Yeah, no.
I agree.
Yeah.
Right. Anything else to say about allies?
No. What do you think about the Order of Holistic Medicine? The Order of Astrologers.
Order of Astrologers. When shuffling, you may pick one card per favor you spend to go on top. I mean, Star Chart's really good.
Yeah.
This is just like a slightly worse Star Chart.
Yeah.
I think. You don't have to buy it, but you have to buy something that gives you the favors.
Yeah, it's a Star Chart that you have to keep putting gas into. So, yeah, I mean, you probably have it, and you're probably willing to spend it on this, but,
this has the case where you can choose to spend multiple favors to put multiple cards on top. And, like, I don't know, I just feel like that matters less and less the more you do it. And I think the first one is just by far the most important.
Sure. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about some cards.
Yeah. Now, this, we can actually go a little more in depth because we're not talking about swaths of cards. We're talking about cards. So, Bobble.
Yeah. All right. So, this is a 2-cost Treasure Liaison. It says choose 2 different options. A buy, $1, a favor, and this turn when you gain a card, you may put it on your deck. So, the Royal Seal effect.
Yeah, the cards that let you combine different, like, multiple different effects and, like, choose 2 of these, those are always kind of fan favorites, right? Because you get to play it as so many different cards.
Yeah, and I find, a lot of times you buy a pawn or something, like a count, and you end up playing it for one of its modes or, a pair of its modes most of the time throughout the game. In my experience with Bobble and the couple of the games I played with it, that is not the case. Mm-hmm. Like, when I need $1, I will take the $1. Yeah. When I don't, I will take a favor, or I will take the top decking. When I need a buy, I will take the buy. If not, it's so flexible, and that flexibility tends to really matter here. That's what takes this out of the realm of, this is a copper.
Yeah, and part of the reason it has that flexibility is because it's a treasure, not an action, right? Like, a lot of these mix and match cards are on actions, so the mode that you have to play it in is really kind of dictated by, do I need this to be terminal or not? And so this being a treasure really, we saw that with one of the treasures from Renaissance, if I recall. But yeah, we see that here too. It's got a lot of
Scepter.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. No, this seems really versatile. Really good card. I think you're gonna buy it in a lot of games, certainly.
Yeah, I gave it a 6, and I think.
Yeah, I think I also gave it a 6.
You gave it a 6.
And it's not like. I mean, maybe you could argue it should be higher because I think you're gonna buy it in so many games that it's in.
But
it's just not gonna.
Copper.
Yeah, it's not gonna like centralize the kingdom or anything. Like games with Bobble aren't gonna be like, oh, it's a Bobble game. It's gonna feel like all the other Bobble games. No, it's like.
I mean, Bobble Plateau Shepherds maybe, but like.
Yeah, fair enough.
But that's only 1 in 23 Bobble games.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, Sycophant. This card sucks. Yeah, no, I think this card sucks. Maybe I could be wrong. I reserve the right to be wrong. I think it's not good.
I thought about giving this a rating lower than what I did. Go ahead now. What does the card say?
+1 action, discard 3 cards. If you discarded at least 1, so you don't get to like discard up to 3. It's like, you can't play it as your last card. You have to discard at least 1. If you do play, you have to discard up to 3 and get $3.
You have to discard 3 and get $3. Yeah.
So +1 action, discard 3 cards, get $3. When you gain or trash this, +2 favors. Now, that bottom part is probably the relevant thing, right?
That's the thing that tries to save the card, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be... This is not a card you want to be playing. It's like, ooh, for the cost of me playing an action out of my hand, I can turn 3 of my cards into coppers. But yeah, it's...
This reminds me of, like, Poorhouse.
Yeah.
Poorhouse, you open that thing, and you are going to hit 4, buddy. It's happening. Yeah. Hope you wanted that.
Yeah, you are doing that. I think, like... yeah, so, like, it's probably... I mean, the discard for benefit thing is, as all of them are, more relevant when you're in this position where you are drawing your deck and overdrawing your deck a ton, and you can just use it to discard cards and draw them right back, and in its best case, it's like it's trying to be a 2-cost non-terminal gold, right?
Yeah, I think the other use case that some people might say is draw to X, but those decks are bad, so we can just move on.
Yeah, I mean, it's like those decks are bad unless they're not, right? Because there are going to be kingdoms where the draw to X thing is going to be pretty strong.
Yeah, but like this isn't even really that great in those decks.
No, it's not. It's the funny part.
It's bad.
Yeah, it's like even
bad in those decks.
Even in those cases where it's like you're discarding for benefit, it's like, ooh, I got $3 and I can draw all my cards. Like, it's like, yeah, that's still not even that great though. You got $3.
Like Watchtower draws you up to 6. The only thing I think that draws you to X that does more is Library. Draws you up to 7.
Yeah.
Scholar kind of does. So maybe sure, Library and Scholar. But like you have 6 cards. You play this, you discard 3, you have 1 card left.
Yeah.
And hopefully you find some villages, but those villages better draw, buddy, because if you have a festival, you are your turn's over.
Yeah. I guess it comes down to just like this it's an action that all it does is gain money, and those tend to be pretty underwhelming. And
if you want to hit 4, it's great.
Yeah. Now, but is there much to say, do you think, about this bottom text? Because I think that's the actual relevant thing that you are gaining this for, right?
Yeah, if you can make use of that, that's super great. However, now you're just gaining a card and maybe trashing it to get favor tokens, and to me, that's
let's think about this situation where we've got it with Peaceful Cult, right, in the open, because like I could see opening this with Peaceful Cult, because you've got some trashing power now to redeem at your leisure, and in the opening like that, hitting 4 consistently in the context of you potentially trashing a bunch of cards out of your hand to begin with, that's actually potentially speeding you up quite a bit.
Oh yeah, it's got that synergy. It lets you, let's say you get a 5/2 open.
Yeah.
This is the best case. You spend your 5 on a Sycophant. Right. You gain the out of those favorite tokens, and on turn 2 you trash 3 estates before you shuffle, and now your deck is a sycophant and 7 coppers.
Nice.
You're gonna hit 4 so hard.
Well, yeah. I mean,
synergy.
But actually, I'm actually, the more I think about it, the more, with Peaceful Cult, this is actually seeming really appealing in the open.
Maybe it's worth picking up on, too, for sure.
I think even on, 3 or 4, you'd pick this up with Peaceful Cult out. Because this is actually accelerating you quite a bit. It's thinning your deck pretty hard, and it's also not slowing you down on the terms where you're thinning your deck, because you are hitting 4 consistently, so...
I think if you can open, your 4, or if you're lucky, your 5 cost thing, if that's compelling... If it maybe trashes this, remodel Sycophant open seems decent.
Yeah. So I gave this a 3 out of 10, and I think I could be persuaded to go a bit higher. I think I could go to a 4 based on this conversation.
I gave it a 5, and I was thinking about giving it a 4. So given the whole Jake +1's rating equals Adam, I think we agree pretty hard here.
All right. Let's go. Yeah, I think that's good.
Nice. So this
townsfolk.
So there's these piles.
Yeah.
They're split piles, but they're not like other split piles we've seen.
Right.
They have 4 copies of 4 different cards in them.
Even in a 2-player game, so this is a 16-card pile.
Always 16 cards, and even some of them have victory cards in them, but that doesn't change with more players.
Yeah. Huh. Okay.
So it's 4 copies of 4 cards, 16-card pile. They start in ascending cost order, and then there's this mechanic called rotate. So the top card of every single one of these split piles allows you to rotate that pile. And that just means you take all the cards with the same name from the top of the pile and put them on the bottom.
And if you read through the specific piles in question, you'll see that they kind of have that Traveler vibe going on thematically, where they're telling a story. Yeah. Which is very cool. I love that cards like that are in the game because... Let's be honest, the theme of this the theme and the art of this game is not what brings the boys to the yard, so to speak. I
think to justify the complexity of making a card like this, you have to have it tell a story. There has to be some reward.
Yeah, and in modern, let's remember that a lot of us play this game online competitively, but that's not where the majority of people are exposed to this game or play it. In modern tabletop, it's really good to have these things that are compelling and telling stories just for
Spirit Island is such a good game.
Oh. It is a very good game, Spirit Island.
And the
lore. Also does it very well.
Oh, it's so good.
But yeah.
But a lot of these cards, they tell a story maybe thematically, but also they tell a story mechanically.
Yeah.
Not unlike, the split piles and empires, I think, were a big one. I remember being part of those being developed, but it's Patrician and Emporium. Patrician draws you a 5, and the bottom half of that pile costs you 5.
Yeah, and we're seeing this
mechanical story.
It's really it actually tells a story too about Dominion. If you just think about it,
life, really.
Well, yeah, no, but the thing is, remember how old a game Dominion is.
It's 15 years old, Jake.
And
can you believe it? It's been 15 years.
And tabletop in general has modernized quite a bit, and we've seen certain trends manifest themselves. Things have changed. Back in the day, old quote-unquote Euro-style games, there were a lot of things where the mechanics and what they thematically represented had nothing to do with each other. They were just totally divorced, and that was
Puerto Rico.
Yeah, that was okay for the time. It's okay for these things to be abstracted. But
so much Puerto Rico back in 2004. It's ridiculous.
Oh, Puerto Rico was definitely one of my all-time favorite games for a long time.
Yeah, and then it turns out. The variability in that game, and therefore the replayability of the game.
It's a scripted game.
And we all learned a valuable lesson. Anyway, continue.
No, we did. But yeah, and we've seen, as tabletop has modernized, we've seen more and more that mechanics and themes start to marry a little bit in games that are more popular. Because
good games.
Yeah, it tends to be compelling to more people. And I think we've seen that a lot in Dominion as well, playing out. We're seeing it here. Where, yes, these piles are progressing in a way that tells a story, and when we just say, oh, it's thematic, we kind of just brush that off and move past it. But also,
what are you talking about? How many times on this podcast have we said, if you ignore theme, you're just gonna lose games?
Right. If you don't let Jasper eat all the bats or whatever. If you don't let your goat eat all the bats...
You have to feed Jasper a balanced, diverse diet, Jake.
Yeah.
God, remember.
Yeah, but yeah, so we're seeing it here too. Like, it's cool to see these cards play out thematically, and it's important for the game that the game is evolving that way. I will say, I mean, Donald really didn't have my ear during this process because I was trying not to die, but yeah,
he has the ear of more people than he did before.
Yeah,
and I want to say that has something to do with it. I can't confirm that. Sure. I've been completely out of the loop for 2 freaking years, but
fair enough.
I mean,
good to hear.
You know, theme and mechanics working together is just so good.
Yeah,
Spirit Island. Ugh. Anyway,
so let's talk about the theme and mechanics of this pile. It's the townsfolk pile.
Yeah. So each of these cards has the type townsfolk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
Oh, is that okay? So the townsfolk is the card type.
Yeah, and like the randomizer says the townsfolk, but then there's 4 different anyway.
Okay, sure. So like, let's read. There's 4 each of these. Let's read the cost and progression of them.
Yeah, let's breeze through this.
Okay.
So Town Crier is the top card, costs 2, and it says choose one, +2 money, or gain a silver, or card an action, and then you may rotate the townsfolk.
Fine.
Blacksmith is a 3 cost. It says choose one, draw until you have 6 cards in hand, or +2 cards, or card in action.
Pretty good. Miller, 4 costs plus action, so it's non-terminal. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Put one of them into your hand. Discard the rest. So, ultra sifting.
It's what Scout wishes it always was.
Yeah, I got Scout vibes too reading it. And then finally we have Elder. It's a 5 cost that gives you 2 money. So it's a 5 cost terminal silver.
It's not really terminal.
Well, okay, yeah. It's a 5 cost, like, action silver. You may play an action card from your hand. When it gives you a choice, or I could say if it gives you a choice of abilities, like it says choose one on it, this turn you get to choose an extra and different thing. So all these cards that are letting you choose a mode to play them in, it's letting you play one of those and enhancing it in some way. So
right, and I wanna point out with Patron, it had to use the word reveal. Mm-hmm. This one, it does not have to use choose one. That's an example. Choose one. I think there's a couple cards that makes a difference for.
Yeah. So worth noting before we get into the implications of the choose one upgraded play thing, you can just play this and then play another action. Like worst case scenario, this is a silver that lets you play an action.
Kind of like
an activated conspiracy. Well,
no, it doesn't draw the card. It's like a minion for money.
Yeah, sure. Something
it's like
like
a silver, which is a really good card.
Yeah, it's like a silver.
But there's 2 choose ones in this pile.
Yeah, and one of them is really good with Elder. Like Blacksmith with Elder, that's a really good situation to be playing with. Right?
Blacksmith and Elder is what makes this pile good.
Yeah. The rest of this would be pretty not compelling.
I'm gonna go out and say I think Miller is trash.
Yeah,
I think
so too.
And this is coming from the guy. The very first Miller that I ever played revealed 3 provinces and like a good card. Okay.
Yeah.
And Miller is still trash.
Yeah, Miller's like, I mean, like
it just needs to cost 2, and it's probably fine.
I mean, Miller is like pile fodder, right? Like Miller is just in this pile so that all the cards aren't good, so the pile is balanced that way.
So,
right?
So someone needs to play Town Crier 1 extra time,
exactly,
to get the Elders to create that little counterplay of like, oh, the Miller's on top. That card sucks. Can I buy an Elder this turn?
Yeah.
If I can, then I'll rotate it.
And like we can speculate and say like that was probably balanced that way on purpose, or maybe it wasn't. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like we could speculate and say the Miller is bad on purpose. Maybe it is. It also doesn't matter. We're saying Miller is bad, so what the implication of that is Town Crier is a little bit better because it helps you get Elders and it helps you not get Millers.
Yeah, so I want to say something, and this kind of holds true for all of my ratings and how I look at the split pile cards. The top card of this pile, opening with it always costs 2 or 3.
Sure.
Okay, now all the split piles, the top card costs 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So you can open with it and still get something juicy and nice. How good that card is to open matters so much for how good the pile is. Because if no one wants to buy that card,
it's not going to happen.
You ain't getting anything from that pile.
Yeah, unless like,
and if I want to, you got to be able to open with it. But go ahead.
So yeah, or you gotta either what Adam said, or you're in a non-mirror situation, which I would say that like when you're playing at a reasonably high level, non-mirror situations are more rare than mirrors.
But it still matters when you're thinking about strategy. In a 2-player game, you can't be thinking about a mirror when you're forming your strategy and deciding what's best.
Absolutely not. 100% agree. I'm saying like you're in the middle of the game. No openings have already happened, and it's clear that you're doing something completely different from your opponent, and maybe like your strategy, the elders and the blacksmiths are disproportionately good for you than they are from your opponent.
Because you're going for trashing and they're not. That's the big one.
Yeah. And so in that case, like maybe you do get some town criers in the mid game just to open up this other pile.
For sure.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to mention that in games with more than 2 players, uncontested always matters, regardless.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, if 2 players are going for this draw your deck thing, but they only have access to half the piles, a big money player can beat them easily. It can happen. It does happen.
Yeah, that sounds very plausible, actually. Yeah.
People watching league championship matches where both players are going for this really complicated thing and are like, this sucks. Big money could beat this. And it's like, well, that's not the point.
Right. Anyway. It's like big money would... If one of them was going big money, they wouldn't be doing this.
Then they'd have access to more cards in this pile. They wouldn't be dancing around 3 pile endings in the way they are and greening way too early.
Yeah.
It's a completely different game.
Yeah.
But with a third player going big money, you got to deal with that, right?
Yeah,
It matters how things are contested versus uncontested. But anyway, that's a digression. True. Town Crier is an excellent card to open with. It can give you a cantrip option in case you just want to find your other opening card.
Can be a silver as well.
It can be a terminal silver if it doesn't collide, which is fan-frickin-tastic. Absolutely great. Town Crier is amazing to open with. It's one of the better openers in Allies.
That sounds a little exaggerated to me.
I mean, it doesn't trash cards.
Yeah, I was like, when you say this is an amazing opener, I think, oh, this must trash.
None of the top cards of the piles trash.
Actually, I mean,
except
like,
for one. Well,
it's like an okay opener. Like, I would say it's an acceptable opener. It's like a card that is reasonable to open with.
But like having control over the pile, I think matters in this pile more than any other pile, because Miller is so bad and Elder can be so good. Elder turns Town Crier into Conspirator that's been activated.
Sure.
Elder turns Blacksmith into this broken thing.
This is true. Opening Town Crier, though, I think I'm still a little, like, sad, because, like, it means that of the 9 other Kingdom cards, that, like, none of these were a better open.
You're one of those people that's sad when you open silver, aren't you?
Don't
be sad, man.
No,
You don't have to be sad.
I'm sad because...
You're playing Dominion, bro.
Yeah, I know, but, like, the reason I open silver is because I want another card.
Great.
That like the silver is helping me get, and yes,
A+.
And yes, like the Town Crier is also filling that role. But like, man, what if I could open Jake of all trades instead? Which is like way better than Town Crier.
That sounds so good.
Yeah,
and you can also get your Jake of all trades with the Town Crier. Ooh. I know, mind blown.
Yeah,
but you're playing Dominion, man. That's better than 99% of what I've done over the past 2 years.
Fair enough.
Be happy opening your
this isn't about like, this is just about like general outlook on life now. This isn't about how good these cards are.
This is a Dominion podcast, and therefore it is a life podcast.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, I guess so the takeaway from this is try to be happier about things.
And Blacksmith is probably the best card. Like, Blacksmith split matters. You got to make sure you get 2 of them in a 2-player game and in a 3-player game.
Assuming it's the good draw card here, yeah. Because, like, you know, you could... If you lose the Blacksmith split, but you can supplement that with other draw, like, you know, that's probably okay.
I suppose. Then you're probably not going for Elders too much.
Probably not, yeah. Correct, yeah. I would say that. It's true.
I gave this a 9 out of 10.
I gave this like
gave it a 7.
Yeah,
and the 9
sure.
could be a little generous.
Yeah, I mean.
So I don't think we actually disagree too much.
This draws cards and it gives you actions. 7 out of 10.
That's so good.
Yeah, like.
And there's decent payload. There's like conspirator stuff going on.
There's money here too sometimes. Yeah.
You can gain a silver with a town crier.
And then draw it and play it.
Oh my god, dude! I was just talking about silver.
Yeah, no, it's silver.
Yeah, you gotta be happy when that happens.
Yeah,
I know. Good.
I know. Okay, augurs.
We're away from the 2 costs and now to the 3 costs.
All right, so the augurs is an interesting one. I'll start with the cheap ones this time. Herb Gatherer. This is a $3 action. Gives you plus buy. The text is put your deck into your discard pile. Look through it being your deck and your discard pile together. You can play a treasure from it and then rotate the augurs. So what you do is you get a buy and then you get to play one treasure that you own somewhere. So that's cool.
Best treasure in your deck that you didn't already draw.
Right. Acolyte is a 4-cost action. You may trash an action or victory card from your hand to gain a gold. So not a treasure, but action or victory can gain a gold. And you may trash this. Yeah, you can trash this to gain an augur. So whatever is on top of the pile when you play the Acolyte.
It's always the Acolyte. Let me just...
Okay, fair enough, but that's a spoiler. So, yeah.
What's okay, up? And then the next one is the 5 costs. It's called Sorceress. Gives you +1 action. It says, name a card, reveal the top card of your deck, and put it into your hand. So it's a cantrip. If it's the named card, each other player gains a curse. So if you can guess what's on top of your deck, it's familiar.
Yeah, that's a big if, but I do think that I will spoiler before we get to Sybil. I gave this pile a lower rating than I was going to because this can curse your opponent and it can do it non-terminally. That's really significant.
Yeah, but Sorceress is the only reason this pile is any good in my opinion.
Yeah, but it does it really unreliably because sometimes you do know what's on top, but man, there are so many times you're not going to.
You need a Sybil to do it.
Yeah, you need a Sybil, or you need
a freaking apothecary or something ridiculous,
or you just need, the wishing well situation where you just get lucky, or get a bunch of them.
Someone played a sorcerer on you. Ugh.
Yeah, or they there's all kinds of weird synergies or situations where you have an idea of what's on top of your deck, but anyway.
Or you can guess it and get it right some of the time.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
And then there's Sybil. It's the 6 cost, gives you +4 cards and +1 action. That's not that good. Then you put a card from your hand on top of your deck and then another card on the bottom. So it lets you put something on the top of your deck so you know what's there for your sorceress.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest strength here. But it is a 6-cost lab. It has that additional filtering effect.
Yeah, it's weird. You read the top text and you get really excited. +4 cards, +1 action. Then you read the rest, and this is actually only increasing your hand size by 1.
Yeah,
it's a really elaborate lab.
Yeah, it's got some extra bells and whistles beyond lab, and it does have synergy with the sorceress, but it still costs 6.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't even know what to say about this pile. I don't know.
Here's what I have to say. Acolyte can't trash curses.
Yeah.
Or coppers, which makes it harder for your other stuff to trash your curses. So that's an issue. Herb Gatherer sucks to open with. Sucks super hard.
Yeah.
Chancellor effect is nice, but no, not worth it. Sucks. No thank you. Sorceress is the only reason this pile is any good, and give me Sybils if they're there, I guess.
Yeah,
sure, fine.
The Sorceress isn't even that great. This is a 5-cost action.
You have to get an Herb Gatherer to get it.
Yeah.
And the junking doesn't come early in the slightest.
And it doesn't come often either because you can't. You could theoretically spam the. Wait, no, Sorceress doesn't even put. Yeah, no, it does. Sorceress is at least a cantrip. Yeah, so it's hard to spam these. They cost 5. Gaining a bunch of 5 costs is kind of hard to do.
Yeah. It's plus buy. It's an attack.
You're gonna go for this sometimes. Because it's plus buy and it's an attack, and sometimes you need to slow down your opponent and build to something bigger. So
I gave it a 7 out of 10. I mean, what else do you want from me?
Yeah, I gave it a 6, and I feel like that might be too high.
Yeah, I also feel like the 7 might be too high, but I don't think we disagree here at all.
No, not at all.
Sick.
Oh, this one was weird.
I have never played any games with this pile. The Clashes.
Battle Plan.
Okay, I'll read the cheap one.
Sure.
Battle Plan is a 3-cost action. It gives you card in action. And it says, you may reveal an attack card from your hand for +1 card. And then you may rotate any supply pile.
Oh, this one says any. I didn't even see that.
So, like, you can expose the fortunes and skip the gladiators if you really want to. You could rotate the coppers.
Yeah, I mean, you could rotate something irrelevant, but that's actually that call out is really significant. I think
it doesn't ever matter.
Well, Gladiator Fortune, I think, might quite a bit. Because,
next time you get a game with this and Gladiator Fortune in it, let me know how that goes.
Sure, but, the Gladiator dance is sometimes kind of a slog sometimes, but you go through it because the fortunes are such a bombshell for the game. And so, I could see...
This is better than Gladiator in a lot of decks, sure.
And I could even see a case where you build and get 2 of these. So wait, no, that doesn't work. Because you can't. I was gonna say you rotate them back. Yeah. You can't get the fortune and then rotate it back. But yeah, no, I actually think that the Gladiator Fortune synergy is enough of a call out that Battle Plan might matter for that.
Okay. I'm just gonna rotate the coppers.
Yeah, no, I will.
Or rotate this.
I'm gonna rotate the curses every time that I don't have something better to do.
Shuffle it doesn't give you the option to do that, by the way.
Oh well, I guess I'm rotating the coppers then.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
Archer is a 4-cost. It gives you +$2 and says each other player with 5 or more cards in hand reveals all but 1 and discards one of those you choose. So it's like Pillage, only they get to keep their favorite.
Yeah, it's interesting. We don't. Yeah, this is a really weird effect. We don't have much targeted discarding in Dominion, I will say, and that's probably a good thing. But yeah, this is an interesting attack. I don't know. I compare this to Militia.
Yeah, I mean I think this hits harder than Militia.
Yeah.
It's not immediately available at the start of the game, I guess, but this is... I gave this pile a very large number, and it's because of Archer.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so Warlord. It is a 5-cost action with 4 types. So when something cares about types... Now, wait. Werewolf. Okay, +1 action. At the start of your turn... At the start of your next turn, +2 cards. Until then, any other player cannot play an action from their hand if they have 2 or more copies of it in play. So if your opponent is spamming one kind of action, it shuts that down. So hard counters magpies.
Minion raw.
Yeah. So that is actually significant in a lot of cases, that attack.
It's weird. Donald made an attack that money density just doesn't care about.
Yeah, which is funny.
I didn't think you could do it.
Right, I know. It's funny. Yeah, a lot of decks are not going to care about this. I really actually like the design of this attack quite a bit.
I agree. I think this is really cool.
Yeah, anything that encourages you to engage with multiple parts of the kingdom, because to not get hit so hard by Warlord, you have to avoid zeroing in on a single pile and just making that your strategy. You have to engage with a lot of the kingdom, and I like that. Yeah, I think that's cool.
It's good design.
Territory is a 6-cost victory card worth 1 point per differently named victory card you have. Castles are gonna go nuts with this. But when you gain this, gain a gold per empty supply pile. Okay, so that second part, whatever. I don't know.
Whatever.
That'll be sometimes a thing you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, territory is going to be interesting with... I mean, castles is the big one, right? But...
Sure.
Yeah,
this is a duchy, right?
Yeah, it's going to be like
maybe
a duchy
4
plus.
Points.
Four, maybe 5 points.
6, yeah.
Sometimes it'll be a province.
So I look at this pile, and I see Archer.
Yeah.
I think it's a big deal. I think that attack matters. I see great attacks. I see, a little bit of deck control with Battle Plan, and I see an extra pile of green.
Yeah.
This supports building more, and I think Archer's stronger. I gave this a 9 out of 10.
I only gave it a 7, but I'm actually talking about it, wanting to bump that up.
To be fair, I've never played a game with these.
Yeah.
I've never played an Archer or had an Archer played on me before. It's never happened.
I'm going to bump this up to an 8 or a 9, and I think the Warlord attack is actually going to not go off 90% of the time, but it's going to be one of those attacks that you have to build differently because it's on the board.
Yeah, I mean, if your opponent's competent, sure. I think, this pile is gonna push the style of deck that Warlord will hit.
Yeah,
because it pushes you to build more and put more of the kingdom in your hand.
In Battle Plan, let's not discount how good of a card Battle Plan becomes when you actually have this attack density and make it a lab. That's, yeah.
That's true. Although I don't like opening with Battle Plan.
No, don't do that.
It's just a cantrip. Unless you can open with an attack.
It is.
And if that attack really matters, then Battle Plan's super great, right? Because I just want to play my stinking attack.
Sure.
Militia, Sea Hag.
So
Witch, not so much, but still, yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the Urchin situation. You still just go double Urchin.
Yeah. Well, unless there's decent trashing, but
sure.
I have opinions on Urchin.
Urchin is stupid.
Urchin
is stupid. So I'm actually really just gushing over Warlord here. I really, really like the design of Warlord. I love that it's a card.
And Territory, it's like the same design.
Yeah, I mean, Territory too. But Warlord is the card that I really like from this, just from a personal taste standpoint. I really love that it's an attack that honestly, I love that it's a card that the text might not mechanically matter at all, ever, but still has a huge impact on the game because it's there, and you have to respect it. That's really cool.
I like that about Sea Hag, to be honest.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit more I like about Sea Hag, if you're catching what I'm throwing.
And I also, I was joking about the Magpie thing, but actually, this does kind of hard counter Magpie. It turns Magpie into a junkie.
That's not a joke.
Yeah, it turns Magpie into
you gotta be careful, bro.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's cool.
All right.
Forts. Okay, so I'll start with the cheap ones here. Tent. The lamest kind of fort. A tent. It's a $3 action. It's just a silver plus $2 terminal silver. You may rotate the forts. When you discard this from play, you can put it onto your deck.
You play that silver every turn.
You want that terminal silver every turn? You got it. Garrison.
Dude, that's great to open with.
Actually, probably yes.
No joke.
No, for real. Assuming that there isn't some other blah blah blah.
If you open with another terminal, that sucks. But still, you don't have to do it. It's
I am opening colliding terminals every single time. You can't stop me.
You go right ahead, right?
Okay, so Garrison is a $4 action, also a silver, plus $2. This turn, when you gain a card, put a token here. At the start of your next turn, remove the tokens for +1 card each. So it's silver that rewards you for gaining a bunch of cards on your turn. That's interesting.
You have to... Yeah, go ahead. All right, well, I'll talk about Garrison. We'll read the cards first, though. Hillfort is a 5-cost action. Gain a card costing up to 4. Choose one. Put it in your hand, or card in action.
It's a $5 workshop variant, but it's a very good workshop variant, right?
It's good, yeah. You put a silver in your hand. Remember silver?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you can cantrip it, which is stinking great.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And then there's Stronghold. It's a 6-cost action duration victory. It's worth 2 VP. It says choose one, plus $3 now, or at the start of your next turn, plus 3 cards.
Just want to say, I love the power creep on Harem. This is I get
it takes
an
action to play.
I get that this Harem is a treasure, so it's easier to play, but
the art is power creep on Harem too.
I don't know what you're talking about. The art on Harem is great.
Oh, okay.
The art on Harem is is kind of beloved.
Actually, this is
this is going to be a card that you buy a lot of the time because it's 2 points and not useless, right?
Yeah, it's this seems like, I think a lot of time I'd rather have this than Nobles. Of course, if there's no village, then I'd rather have Nobles. Nobles sucks as a village. Give me this thing.
Sure, yeah.
So I think Tent is great to open with, and that matters.
Yeah.
I think Garrison sucks until it's broken amazing.
So I think Garrison sucks might be strong. It's not like it's not gonna be. It's not like actively hurting your deck.
And you have to play this terminal card.
Yeah.
Before you start your Gainy bits.
Yeah, but you're buying one. So like,
what kind of token are you putting on here? Does it even say?
Oh, that's funny. I'm
gonna put a $50 bill on this card. You can't stop.
Yeah, I'm gonna
my
put
token.
My token is the rest of the kingdom piles. But yeah, no. So Garrison in its worst case is not that bad. It's not good, but like you just play Garrison and then you buy a card. And then you draw. You played this terminal silver that said draw a card next turn. That's fine.
Yeah, but I got a tent, man. My terminal space is accounted for.
Well, I don't know that you are top decking the tent every turn that you play it, especially if you Garrison.
Maybe you don't know if you are top decking a tent every turn you play it.
Fair enough.
I will be top decking a tent every turn I play it.
Yeah, I mean, so like if you decide to pinch your tent every turn, then maybe the Garrison is a little worse. But
I will never be able to unhear that.
Yeah. Yeah, you get to. I mean, that's what we'll call it. That's what we're all gonna agree to call it, right? When you top deck the tent, you're
I'm really proud of a lot of Dominion terms that I've coined. Okay, I was the first one to be saying stuff like terminal space,
sure,
or like, I don't think anyone was saying overdraw before me,
yeah.
like, but
no, I've got my own.
You made it, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, the ones that you coined are like useful for analyzing things, but. I just make a bunch of jokes.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I think Hillfort Garrison is overblown.
Overblown? Who's blowing it? Like, what?
Like, I'm going to play all these Hillforts and their cantrips and they're going to gain a bunch of stuff. And then my Garrison's going to be so good. No, there's 4 Hillforts. You have to play a village first. And what are you gaining? Tents? Sure. I only need 1, thank you.
Yeah, I mean...
I'm a 1 tent man.
Well, you could top deck 5 tent... No, but, 4 tents. Only 4. Sorry. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with it. However, I want to say that, like, if Garrison is drawing you, like, 2 cards, that's still pretty good. Like, that's, like, 2 cards at the beginning of your next turn. It's fine. Like...
I don't think it's... You're a lot warmer on Garrison than I am.
It's not. I mean, for
I've
the record,
never bought a Garrison.
I'm not super high on Garrison. I'm not saying like, oh, this is great. I'm saying
You're just saying it's not trash. I'm saying.
If Garrison is a card that I have to get through to get to the cards I actually want, I'm not that upset.
You know how to get through the Garrisons? You play your tent that you top deck every single turn.
Yeah,
that's how you get through the Garrisons.
Actually, that's not a terrible idea. Yeah, okay. So, like, Hillfort is the card that you're going to want most often from this pile, right?
And I think Stronghold is decent.
Yeah, I'm just saying Stronghold costs 6, and that, like... And also, it's, like, not, like...
It's worth points. And it's duration draw. Like, these are good things, especially on a card that's worth points.
Yeah.
So, like...
This is true,
I'm down. But if you have a village and maybe some trashing, like... Yes.
For like a lot of the time, those points aren't really going to matter. When I say they're not going to matter, I mean that there's some other way that's clearly going to win the game and be decisive that is not those 2 points.
But the fact that there's 8 points there, that aren't in every game of Dominion,
Sure, but like in terms of general building utility that supports any win condition for the board, Hillfort is the one, right? Hillfort is kind of the standout of this pile.
Gain to hand is great.
Yeah,
and then you can do other stuff too.
Mm-hmm. So I gave this a 6.
I gave it an 8, and that's because of Tent.
I'm making maybe bump to a 7. Let's go like 6.5. Yeah, 6.5.
I'm probably overrating this, but I think Tent is really good.
Yeah,
I just think it's good.
Yeah, sure. Merchant Camp. +2 It's a 3-cost action, which gives you +2 actions to village and +$1. It is the saddest festival of all time. Bottom text. When you discard this from play, you may put it on your deck. This is very good.
Overpowered with tent, 2 merchant camps, and 3 tents. Hello. Guaranteed province every turn. GG.
True, technically.
And like these only cost 3.
Yeah.
By turn 5, these are all in your deck, and you just have to like crawl through your deck 1 or 2 cards at a time until you find the last piece of the puzzle.
And then you province every turn.
Yeah.
How fast is that? That's not
you
that
can probably
fast,
get it done by like turn 10 or 11. You're getting your first province.
Okay, I mean that's actually
not as good as Smithy Big Money. And dies to discard attacks, but not to junking attacks.
Resistant to junking.
I don't think that's good.
No.
I mean, it's fine because tent is great, but like, I don't think that's... I was kidding.
Well, I mean, the thing that this is actually really good for is, you know, you
having
need
a village at the start of your turn.
You have a bunch of terminal draw in your deck.
So good.
Yeah, if you just shove a bunch of terminal draw in your deck in Merchant Camps, and then all of a sudden you've got this really consistent kickoff every turn. That's pretty good.
If I could start every turn with a Necropolis, I think a lot of decks that I play would love to do that.
Yeah, please. This is an Necropolis with a copper.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's like half of a silver, and you know how I feel about silver.
Right.
So like I think this is great. I think this is a 7 out of 10. You gave it an 8. I could see giving it an 8, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I've like played any games with this card. So.
Yeah, I just like the consistent kickoff effect. I think it's really strong.
It's cheap, so like you can know like, oh, this next shuffle I'm gonna have issues with terminal space. Or like maybe a couple now I have this thing, I'm top decking it. Now I can just shove terminals in my deck and worry a lot less about collision. You don't even need to be drawing a lot for this to be good.
I also think that for that reason and others, I think that this is good. This is a good feel card because a lot of the time when you're building a big deck to like full size, I guess, where you're shoving a bunch of like actions and stuff in it, like terminals and villages and all that and payload, you always like have that inherent variance of like, oh, I drew all my smithies and no villages or whatever.
I hate that so much.
Yeah, and so like you might have gone for like the quote unquote right strategy, the strategy that will win most of the time, but you know, monkeys on a typewriter, eventually things are gonna up. And so yeah, it's good to have cards like this that, you know, make that feel less bad.
I love cards that give you consistency.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be drawing your deck to use that consistency, and I'm just a fan.
Yeah.
I think this is a good design card. And, it's a village. Did you know that when you can play multiple terminal actions in a turn, that's overpowered?
Yeah, we're talking about how good actions are.
Did you, you can play Smithy after this.
Ooh.
Wow.
You can play Nomad Camp. Okay.
Whoa.
So, yeah. Importer. What's up there?
It's a 3-cost action duration. It's a liaison 2. At the start of your next turn, gain a card costing up to 5. And then during setup, each player gets +4 favors. You will not be getting any more favors besides the starting favor and the 4 from this one, if this is the only liaison in the pile.
Yeah, but, you know...
You start with a big stack of 5 favors. And, Island Folk. That's an extra turn. You just take it whenever you want, brah.
Or, you know, Peaceful Cult. That's like...
That's also
like
much better.
a little mini donate at the beginning of the game, right?
It's ridiculous. Like,
yeah.
You're probably opening 4-0. That's your entire $3 hand. Like, 4-1. I mean,
I don't know. I think,
and then you have 5 coppers and you bought a 4-cost. Like, that just seems ridiculous.
Yeah, you're doing something like that. You're getting rid of your estates in the first shuffle. That's guaranteed, and that's great.
Yeah, 1 in 23 importer games. That's gonna happen. So good.
Yeah. So
I gave this a 5 out of 10.
I gave it a 7. So there's I'd say there's a little bit of disagreement here as to how good this is.
I agree. The first thing that came to my mind when I saw this card is I want to compare it to Cobbler.
Sure.
Cobbler gains you a card. your next turn. It's a duration, so it stays out and misses shuffles and stuff. The difference is our number 1, this costs 3 and Cobbler costs 5.
Yeah.
Number 2, this is terminal and Cobbler's a night card.
Yeah.
And number 3, this gets you up to 5 and Cobbler gets you up to 4.
Yeah.
And number 4, Cobbler gains to hand. And I think that's the big one. I mean, Cobbler is not terminal. I think that matters too. But, like, Cobbler gains to hand. And that is so freaking good because you've seen your hand and you know what kind of cards you're going to need.
So the way I come from this is a little different. I'm not thinking about it because, like, the fact that Cobbler costs 5 means you get a Cobbler, you've already hit 5. Importer is just a card you can open with that guarantees gets you a 5.
Orange. You know how I feel about opening.
I mean, it's orange, but like I think this is one of the oranges that is often just worth opening anyway.
I very much disagree. I think this is on the other end of the spectrum. This is only good if you draw at turn 3 because otherwise you're not going to shuffle your 5er in.
No, I mean you're not going to shuffle your 5er in a lot of the time, but I'm willing to forgive that because it's gaining you consistent 5ers. Like that's just a really huge amount of accelerated building.
That sounds to me like a card that I want to pick up on turn 3 or turn 4 rather than open.
I might do that too. I mean, sure.
It depends on the 5ers. If it's something spammable, I can see that. But
you want a Sentry.
But if it's trashing or junking, I don't want to open with this. I want that shuffled in with maximum percentages, right?
I don't. Well, so I see what you mean.
And then maybe later I'll get the Importer.
I'm just still willing to open like Silver Importer or whatever and like get my Sentries and get more of them. And I catch up. Like, let's say I miss my Sentry in the first shuffle or whatever. I catch up by getting more of them because I have this Importer.
Okay, so I think Sentry is a bad example.
Sure.
I think maybe Junk Dealer is a better example from what you're saying because Sentry is just so bad. If you can't get it like turn 1 or turn 2, it just drops off so quickly. But like Junk Dealer, I can kind of see what you're... Or like Upgrade, I think, is something that is a little more spammable.
Yeah, something like that. I actually just think that it's okay to miss the first turn or shuffle or whatever with your Importer and the 5-drop you get with it.
I'm not saying you never do this. But like it's a duration card. If I want to gain 1 every turn, I have to get 2 of these. Which, fine. Great. Fine.
Yeah.
Cool. But like gaining, if I'm drawing everything and playing my 1 Importer every turn, then like I'm kind of stuck gaining a payload 5 and feeling good about it because I want to draw and play it this turn.
Sure.
Which is fine. It just feels a little bad. Like there's just a lot of awkwardness here where Cobbler kind of put everything together in a really nice package that made things just go in more of a, I would say, a deck control direction rather than a payload direction, which this card tends to be.
Yeah, and I hear you, but the problem with Cobbler is that it costs 5. It's 5 cost. There tends to be quite a stark difference between cards that cost 5 or more and cards that cost 5 or less. And like the fact that like Cobbler doesn't help you hit 5, it requires you to hit 5. Importer helps you hit 5. Like that's what I like about it. That's why I gave it a 7. I think it's actually pretty good a lot of the time. And I'm not that sad to open with it. I'm not going to do it every time. I'm going to do it sometimes.
I was worried we'd get all the way through this and we wouldn't have like a real disagreement.
Yeah, no, we found it.
I was really worried about this. Like, I gave it a 5, and like that's one of the lowest ratings out of any card in this whole set. I think Sycophant is the only card I gave lower than this.
Yeah,
or something like that. Like it. I mean, this has its place. It's a 5, right? It's not really awful, but man, I don't like opening with this in most cases.
Fair enough.
And I think the fact that it costs 3 is that it says to me like, hey, you can open with me. That's part of why I'm good. And I just don't think that translates with this card. And you disagree?
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
We
you want to fight?
Yeah. let's go. I'm too out of shape.
You're out of shape.
It might be.
I can barely walk up the stairs.
Dude, same. Like Odysseys. We have another like full
split
pile thing.
I think there's even more. There's so many of these.
Oh, really?
I have opinions. Like every split pile like this makes you read 4 cards, and like these are not simple cards. And like when you add complexity to a game, it really needs to hit home in terms of like what it's adding to the game strategically and how good it feels to play. And I don't know, if I was part of playtesting, I think I would have pushed for less split piles
and less stuff on the split piles.
And also I have some comments about Voyage, but let's read these cards.
Yeah.
So old map is the 3 cost, gives you card in action, and then it says discard a card plus 1 card. Then you may rotate the Odysseys. This is fantastic to open with.
It's fine.
This is like Star Chart for your opener. The only way you can miss your other opener is if your old map and your other opener are the bottom 2 cards.
The reason Star Chart is good is because it happens every turn from then on out, though.
Yeah, old map stays in your deck. It's so good, man.
True. Okay.
It's like a lab, only you have to discard an estate.
Oh,
for 3.
Yeah. Sure. I'm not as warm on it as I think you are.
You might have some estates if you get a little deeper in this pile.
Yeah.
Voyage is a 4 cost. It gives you +1 action. It says if the previous turn wasn't yours, take an extra turn after this one during which you can only play 3 cards from your hand. So you can play like a Golem, and that counts for 1 card even though it plays other cards. You can do like a Wicked Throne Room Chain, or you can just like play 3 treasures.
Yeah.
It's very limiting, but you can throne this. I think this card is bad design.
I think I don't know about the design. I haven't thought about it very much. It's very powerful though.
I think most Voyage turns you take are going to be bad. They're not really going to do all that much.
So, some of them that's going to be true for, but they're turns.
You can trash. You can play a Sunken Treasure. And you can maybe attack.
And sometimes you're going to get to buy things. Like, it's limited,
I think it's really rare.
Sure, but
I think that most of the time Voyage turns are filled with like, oh, this sucks. What can I do to make this suck the least? And you're sitting there like those people that play a spy and they think for 10 minutes or like they play a pawn and they're like, they sit for a minute and they say card, and then they sit for another minute. They say action, and then they do that and they play 5 pawns every turn. Like that just gives me those vibes.
Yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from.
I would have spoken against Voyage if I was part of playtesting, but that's just...
I get it, but like, it's also like... These are all problems you're pointing out that are valid with the whole take your turn again thing, but it doesn't overcome the sheer raw power that is take an extra turn.
Yeah, it's like Mission. When Mission's good,
yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Sure.
But if you can get around this somehow, like Sunken Treasure maybe,
or just like have a really money dense deck and buy a province.
Money density,
right?
Likes this so much more.
Sure.
And decks don't want to draw a bunch of cards, which I guess is cool, but I have an old map in my deck.
Well, the back half of this pile of Sunken Treasure is a 5-cost treasure. That's in the name, yeah. Gain an action card you don't have a copy of in play. So just gain an action. That's
gain a possession.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason possession is banned in all sensible formats. But yes, I went there. Possession is terrible. Gain a goons.
I don't have possession banned for my auto match queue, Jake.
It's banned by default in the client.
Right, but I can still.
You could go in and explicitly ban it just to give it the finger.
No, I went in and unbanned it.
Did you really?
I don't think possession is that bad. I don't put it in my IRL tournaments.
Sure. Distant Shore is a victory card that is worth 2 points and costs 6. 6 costs 2 points, plus 2 cards, plus 1 action.
Holy crap, it's a lab worth 2 points?
Yeah, gain an estate. Just ignore that last part. Gain an estate. Okay, so like Distant Shore.
3 points.
Yeah. No, it's worth more than that because it's an estate every time you play it.
It's so good.
So if you're in one of those weird games where estates are good cards, which are not terribly common, but they do happen, this is like insane amazeballs, right?
I think the comparison for Distant Shore is not lab. I think the comparison is Dutchy. I think it just makes a lot more sense
Dutchy.
to compare this card to Dutchy.
But this card makes your current turn better, and Dutchy drawing it makes your current turn worse. Like, yeah, you gain the estate, but like...
That's true.
Okay, so let's talk about the pile as a whole, right? Like, so we've got this whole thing going on. What do we think?
Standouts. Old map. Great opener.
Yeah.
If you're gonna find like a 4 cost to open with it, A+. And it's a fine card for most decks.
Sure.
Voyage, extremely narrow, but gives you an extra turn. Sunken Treasure, great. That's a great card.
Yeah, it's a workshop that doesn't take an action. It's a workshop variant that it's actually like super workshop, right? But it
Gain a familiar.
I mean, obviously it stands out quite a bit with the potion.
Overboard. Royal Blacksmith.
Yeah. It stands out quite a bit with like the special cost actions that like you have to jump through hoops for.
Gain a teacher. Can't do that.
No. I don't know. This is a really powerful pile. I understand where you're coming from not liking the design of Voyage. I also just think it's very powerful though. And I'm not really...
I mean, it's good when it's good. The amount of time that it's good is so little that I ding it for that. This is the same guy that gives capitalism a 10 out of 10 regardless of how often it happens. So
yeah.
Hey, my ratings are subjective and they don't have to be consistent. Sue me.
Yeah, I try to keep mine consistent, but I don't claim to do it very well.
I gave it an 8.
I gave the pile a 7, and 2 of those points are because of Voyage.
And in my mind, this 8 is coming from Old Map and Sunken Treasure. So like our ratings basically agree, but like
for opposite reasons.
We have like very different viewpoints about almost every card in this pile.
Yeah, I don't know. So, like, Distant Shore is an interesting card, isn't it? Like,
it's nice in a pinch, I guess. I mean, it gives you that flexibility. Sometimes you just need a gainer, man.
Yeah, when are you gaining Distant Shore other than when estates are good? It's when you need those points. I guess, Dutchy, man. I would rather buy this than... I see what you're saying, comparing it to Dutchy, because you buy this... You buy this in a lot of the same positions where you would buy Dutchy, right? Like, this is other than the games where estates are good. Like, we're saying not... Obviously, if estates are good, Distant Shore is great.
This is not Lab.
Yeah,
I mean, if you have a Watchtower in hand, good for you. But, like, this is not Lab.
Yeah, this is like, you buy this in the same position. Okay, yeah, what you said is making more and more sense as we go.
It's not Dutchy, but, like, I think it's a lot closer to Dutchy than it is to Lab.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I'm getting on board. No. Yeah. Okay, sure.
Anyway, I don't have anything else to say about
this
pile.
Yeah, the pile has been spoken about.
Nice.
Sentinel.
Did you just give this a 0.5 rating?
Oh, just you wait. Those aren't going anywhere. Okay, so Sentinel. I mostly just wanted to give it a different number from what you gave it.
Okay.
But yeah, Sentinel. Look at the top 5 cards. Oh, it's a 3-cost action. You can open it. You can open 2 of it. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You may trash up to 2 of them, put the rest back in any order. This trashes 2 cards, and it can be opened with.
This is nuts.
8.5 out of 10.
I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I would have given it a 9. I just didn't want to copy it.
This is like Lookout, only good. You don't have to open 2 of them to get thin really fast, and it's okay because it's non-terminal. Like, you can just open with this thing.
This thins quite a bit faster than Lookout. Yeah, this is just good.
And, like... Yeah, it causes shuffle if you don't draw it on turn 3, but, like, it's still good on turn 4.
The whole, like...
Because, like, the shuffle that you're causing with this thing on turn 4 is, like, kind of a good shuffle in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and I have always felt this way, by the way, during my whole Dominion tenure. The whole, like, shuffle on turn 3 or 4 thing, and people, like, make all kinds of considerations and play around that.
I make considerations.
And, like, and you should a lot of the time. I'm not saying it's irrelevant, but I think that it's overblown a bit, the whole, like, significance of,
you
like,
don't open Witch Copper so that your witch misses the shuffle half the time less.
Yeah, it's...
right?
It's like, I mean, I think, like, you know, sometimes you just open... Like, a lot of the time, a powerful play is still a powerful play, even if it causes a shuffle. You don't want, like... The asterisks by that, yes. But, like... Yeah, anyway.
I mean, if I draw this on turn 4, if I draw a card on turn 4 and I don't want to cause a shuffle, I'm still going to play the frickin' card. I'm just going to be sad that I caused a shuffle.
Exactly. But not that sad. You still,
it just changes the percentages in my head compared to other things I could be doing before I even put the card in the deck.
Yeah, I guess to put my point a different way, I think causing shuffles is important, but usually it's less important than the other things that are happening on your turn. Like, I think, like, other things that you do are usually more significant than whether or not you cause a shuffle.
I agree. In almost every case, that is true, yeah.
But anyway, this card's nuts. No disagreement there. This is a
very,
solid, classic 8.5 kind of card.
Classic 9 out of 10 card. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say.
No, me neither. It's good.
Great. Underling. It's a 3-cost action liaison.
Yeah.
Gives you a card, an action, and a favor. How do you rate this? Like, this is 23 different cards.
I mean, so I copped out, as you can see.
I mean, I copped out too, but then I said if you put a metaphorical gun to my head, I think I gave it a 6. Although that little green thing is covering it up, so
I gave it like I say like I put like a 7 or 8 on average personally, but like, you know, I could be wrong. I might be overrating this I looked at this right after I looked at all the really overpowered ally cards.
Nice.
And so this looked really good to me at the time. You know, in an actual game where this is maybe paired with like sometimes a mediocre ally, this is going to be kind of bad, but like, you know,
if you want a big stack of favors, you get like 3 or 4 of these and you got a big stack of favors. That's so freaking good some of the time. And sometimes like whatever. Yeah. Give me a silver. Yeah. It just depends so much on what the favors do for you.
Yeah, this is a very simple card to talk about because it really just depends on what the allies do.
And I'm not going to talk about all 23 favors, so you want to move on?
Yeah, let's go.
Sick.
Oh,
it's another split pile.
This was such a weird pile because this is like the most like high fantasy pile in this whole
I do want to say I think this is one of the more well-designed split piles, particularly Lich, which is the bottom card in the pile. But
this card has a Lich in it. Dominion has
that. I mean, that is cool.
This is like the most high fantasy thing in Dominion so far. We passed the nerd forest. We passed sorcerers and wizards and everything. We're into specific kinds of necromancers at this point. We're in Lich territory. That's like we entered the D&D world. We're here.
It's 2022.
Yeah,
it took us 15 years. And we got there, guys. We did it.
Also, a little bit of a spoiler to when we get to it. I think Lich is very, like, the pinnacle of that sort of the mechanics and theme working together. Because, like, what it does is really awesome and powerful and also terrible at the end. So, like, oh man, let's just read.
Let's read Lich. So, like, Lich is the bottom card. It costs 6.
Yeah, we're gonna work backwards through this pile.
Apparently, it gives you +6 cards and +2 actions.
And it costs 6.
And
then you skip a turn. I have never seen the text on a card you do to yourself of skip a turn. Or you could think of it another way, like you play give a turn card to your opponent, right? Because that's what actually happens is your opponent takes 2 turns.
You get to seize the day for your opponent. Like
that's insane.
I love the idea. One of my favorite things in any game, but especially Dominion because it's kind of hard to do. Huge, really big effects with drawbacks.
Yeah, and
because when you find a way to break that drawback, it feels so good. It opens the door for creativity, and it's so fun to play. Like, populate.
Wait, what happens with... Yeah, populate. What happens if you play this and then a possession?
Okay, there's a lot of weird rule stuff, and I don't know the answer to all of them.
Okay, yeah. But, like, okay, so yeah, this, and, like, if you think about what a Lich is thematically, it's, like, this dark sorcerer who is using their own life force to fuel their power, and, like, you are drawing 6 cards and getting 2 actions, and then you f***ing die. Because, like, and that's, like, really awesome.
What is that, what is that Slay the Spire card? Is it Blasphemy?
Yeah,
Die next turn.
Like, yeah, it's like, this is press Q to die. When
and like skip a turn in my mind, that might as well say lose the game.
A lot of the time, yes.
I feel like Lich is only good if you are going to end the game.
And yeah, I would.
And it's freaking amazing. So like, maybe you get it sometimes.
End the game or effectively end the game, right? Because like you could like you could use that turn to set up a situation your opponent can't come back.
Get a VP lead, whatever. Sure.
Yeah. So like. And then there's more text on Lich we haven't gotten to.
When you trash this, discard it and gain a cheaper card from the trash, which is, I think, only there for theme, but please.
I mean, like I think it's pretty cool. Like, cause there are trash for benefit cards. Like the fact that this is like fueling that, which is really cool. Because a lot of the time you are not going to want to play your Lich.
If you are overdrawing, which maybe you are because you have multiple Liches, you can like remodel your Lich, empty a pile card, play your other Lich, draw it, and like.
Yeah, I mean, and this is awesome.
It's not crazy to put 2 Liches in it. Like it's.
This is also awesome because of its interaction with Knights, which is another one of my favorite piles in the game. Because like it's Knight defense. Like your opponent trashes your Knight. Your opponent like hits this, and then you trash your Lich to the Knight, and instead you just discard the Lich, and you get a Knight back, and you get a Knight lead on it. So it's like if Knights are out and you're in a Knight war, you have to get Lich, or you're gonna lose. So that's pretty cool.
That never occurred to me, but that is kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, like there's 3. We have talked about 25% of this pile, but Lich is just. I mean, man, this has got to be one of my favorite cards I've seen in Dominion so far. It's like I really like this.
It's like when you crack open the box and you're just thumbing through the cards because you've never seen them before, and like certain ones of them stand out. Like when I got my Spirit Island expansion, and I'm like in the infusion center getting my blood transfusion or whatever, and I'm just thumbing through the major powers. And the ones that have like the big energy costs, like the 8 cost major power, that like makes a fucking black hole in the middle of the island, like you remember that.
Yeah,
cast down in the briny deep.
Right. This is that. This is your big memorable thing that happens in your Dominion game, and like
if I just read all of the cards in the box, I remember Lich.
I like so when somebody plays a Lich. Somebody at the table is going to win the game based on that. Yeah. And maybe it's the person who played the Lich.
Sure hope so.
But maybe not. So maybe we should talk about the other 3 out of 4 cards in the pile. Yeah.
Like, I think Lich is like not very good in most cases, but like
a lot of them probably it's going to be.
But like it's so cool that this card. And anyway, we should be done.
It's amazing. About this. It's amazing. So okay, student. I'll do the outer 2 cards. Adam will do the
okay.
No, wait. Yeah. So student, is a 3 is the thing on top of the pile. It's a 3. I love the progression. It's like this student will be a Lich someday. But yeah, no, the student +1 action. You can rotate the wizards, of course. You may trash a card from your hand. If it's a treasure, you get a favor token, and you put this onto your deck. So you could turbo trash your coppers, I guess, just by like continually top decking this. That's probably not the best thing in the world, but this is an openable card. It's non-terminal. It says trash a card. Yeah, it's
like Forager, only probably a little worse.
This card has a high floor. Like the worst cases for this card are still pretty decent.
You open with 2 of these bad boys and just all these cards in the deck. And it top decks itself, like, just screw that.
The other one of them kills the other one at some point.
Yeah.
Just like 2 real students. I like this dark wizardry school, because, like, these 2 students come together and destined. One of them is to consume the other. Which one will be who? Let's see who's stronger. Anyway, so Conjurer is a 4-cost action. The student has graduated to Conjurer, and he's, like, Kamehameha waving a key out of his hands or whatever. Gain a card costing up to 4, so it's a workshop variant, and at the start of your next turn, put this into your hand. So it's
orange, but like it doesn't miss shuffles.
It's like the opposite of orange.
And it doesn't, like, you get 6 cards in your hand.
The opposite of orange is like purple, right? Like on a color wheel. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, this is a workshop that you get to play every turn.
If you have a terminal,
this accelerates quite a bit.
If you don't care about the fact that this is terminal, This is great.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Just gain estates every turn. What could go wrong?
Yeah, it's really good for your estates.
VP.
Yeah.
I'll read Sorcerer.
We move to that one.
It's 5 costs, gives you card in action. It says each other player names a card, then reveals the top card of their deck. If wrong, they gain a curse. So the Sorceress, you guessed about your own deck, but the Sorcerer, you get your opponent's guess about their deck. Now the trick is, they put that card back. So like this kind of seems like familiar, but it really only works once per turn, unless you're playing a bot.
Does the bot not guess right?
It guesses the same thing every time. Which
Okay.
look, I get it. I don't want to take the time to write in the logic. Like, the bot doesn't buy any allies cards. They needed to get this out the door because their software is total fucking garbage. And I have opinions. But anyway, this release was like fun sockets. It was really... Anyway. But, like, any competent person would see the top card and then, like, future sorcerers. So, like, you don't want to, like, familiar them with 3 curses a turn.
Yeah.
However, the bot names the same card every time, and I understand why they did it. But guess what card they named, Jake?
Copper.
That would be too f***ing easy.
Oh, no.
They name a state. Why the f*** wouldn't you name Copper? Who the f*** decided that they should name a state every time? Put this in a game with shelters, and I will laugh my f*** off.
Okay, I mean, I'll tell you who. It's somebody who was like, oh, we want Sorcerer to go off so that people see the cool Sorcerer thing.
Gladiator, they never reveal. Even if they have the card in hand, they never reveal. You get $3 from Gladiator every time.
And you move to the Fortunes. But yeah,
and you trash a Gladiator from the supply.
Yeah, I mean...
I'm sorry, I had to get that out.
All right, so this is...
Sorcerer's great.
Yeah, it's a very good card.
Fantastic.
Non-terminal junking attacks are just extremely powerful. We've seen this time and time again.
It's a cantrip junker, but it only works once per turn.
Like...
Unless you're playing Lord Rat.
If it only works once per turn, that's okay, dude. Like, I will have it work once per turn and be very happy about the fact that I am cursing you once per turn.
Yeah. And just get more than one of them so you can... Make sure you play it every turn.
Yeah, or get more
than one
of them.
Play a council room! Wow!
Or play a knight. And then make them have a different card on top.
you love those knights, don't you, man?
So yeah, that's cool.
So, I mean, we've gushed about Lich. We've talked about Student. I don't have anything else to say about this pile.
Nothing else. Really cool pile.
I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Gave it an 8.5.
Of course you did. I don't know. Maybe I could give it an 8. Yeah. I've never actually played a game of Dominion with
I've never played a game of Dominion. So. Yeah. Nice.
All right.
But Borker.
Forecast.
Yeah, Borker.
It's a forecast action. It's liaison. Trash a card from your hand and choose one. For every $1 it costs, you can either get a card, or an action, or $1, or a favor, and it has to be all the same. So, like, you trash your gold, and you either get 6 cards, 6 actions, 6 monies, or 6 favors.
This trashes cards for benefit.
In the opening, this is a salvager.
Yeah.
Without the buy, which you didn't care about.
Well, yeah, or, like, better salvager, because, like, maybe the favors are better, or maybe you wanted to shuffle faster.
Yeah, but you get flexibility.
Yeah.
Sometimes this is a terminal apprentice that saves your turn.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes, this will never happen, but it's a village that saves your turn. Or sometimes you want a big frickin' pile of favors.
Yeah.
And that's really great. And sometimes you trash a copper with it and you're sad.
Yeah, this is probably going to be the thing that most often pairs with that one ally that lets you take another turn. I already forget the name.
Island Folk.
Yeah, this is going to be the thing that most often pairs with Island Folk to make Island Folk broken.
Yeah, I think League of Bankers or whatever, when you want to hold a bunch of favor tokens, or that one that gives you lost arts on something. I think you want a big pile of favors.
It's there for you.
This is one of the ways to get it real fast.
Yeah.
Buy an expensive thing and broker it. And also, your estates are gone on the way there.
Yeah, I mean, I think like 85% of your games, the significance of this is going to be, this trashes estates, and it isn't terrible.
Yeah, like this is already in your deck.
Fine. Yeah, it's fine.
And now maybe you get some favors.
Yeah, sure.
I gave it a 7.
I gave it a 7. All right. Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. All
right. So I'll just say, Adam gave this a 9, and I gave it a 6, and I wrote, chill, Adam. Adam, chill out in my rating.
All right, so this is Carpenter.
Yeah.
It's a 4-cost action. If no supplies piles are empty, +1 action and gain a card costing up to 4.
Mm-hmm.
So iron works most of the time.
Sure.
Otherwise, trash a card from your hand and gain a card costing up to 2 more than it. Otherwise, remodel.
Yeah.
I think this is fantastic. Like, Ironworks, I think I gave it like an 8, maybe a 9 out of 10. And I think that base case, this is Ironworks with upside.
Well, it's...
So to give it less than an 8, I think is nuts. What'd you give Ironworks? Did you give it a 6?
I don't think I rated Ironworks. That was before I was rating cards, you know. But, like, you know, I don't know. I mean, this isn't like Ironworks continually. Like, a pile runs out and then you can't Ironworks anymore.
Yeah, you're doing something better.
You're doing something different.
Your remodel is much better, I think, in general, in the abstract, in the late game. Like, sure, maybe I'll lose some pile control because now this isn't non-terminal.
Yeah, I mean, the non-terminal aspect of it, the fact that once a pile runs... Okay, so here's the thing.
I'm remodeling things and getting points. I don't care about pile control anymore.
This is all true, but, like, it's not just pile control. The fact that, like, you, a lot of the time, are managing your deck's overall terminal density at a certain level. Like, your
terminal space?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I coined that term. So
yeah, no. Yeah. And, I mean, the fact that, like, this is a card that, like, once a pile runs out, your terminal space for your deck, the density of terminals has just changed drastically, and a lot of times it's going to be awkward. You're not...
so, like, if there's not a bunch of stuff you want to gain that maybe isn't non-terminal,
you have a bunch of
you think
dead carpenters in your deck.
Yeah, so that's why I didn't give it a 10. Like, you also probably don't want Ironworks in that situation, too.
I don't know, yeah, I give it a 6.
Or maybe you can remodel your extra terminals and get ridiculous cards.
I think this is just an okay card. Like, I will be fine to play this sometimes.
I think most games that you can do, like, anything at all, you're gonna get this, and it's gonna be a huge factor.
I think that's also true of Bobble, though. The thing is, like, I think very similar things about this than
Copper, though.
I think very similar things about Carpenter as I do to Bobble. It's like, yeah, most games there's gonna be a space for this in your strategy, but it's not gonna, like, shape the board.
I think this shaped. I mean, and I think this is a big deal. I think this enters into your brain on, like, almost every turn of the game. How many Carpenters do I have? How many? What piles can I
think it does factor into your brain every turn, but not in a good way. If it's factoring as like, oh god, how many terminals just got shoved into my deck because a pile ran out? Not in a good
way. You can gain silver with this card, Jake.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Yeah, like, I'll gain this card sometimes. It's fine. You know? Yeah.
There's some real disagreement. I think Carpenter is nuts. 9 out of 10.
It's funny, there's some disagreement, but I think our play with it is going to be the same. I think we're going to go for it the same number of times and do the same things with it. We're just going to be different levels of happy about it.
Yeah, and I think like capitalism is the same way.
Yeah.
Like, I give it a 10 and you give it like maybe a 5 or something, and I think you put a kingdom in front of us and we're like not really going to disagree all that
Yeah,
much.
no, I mean, like, yeah.
Ratings are really dumb.
Yeah. They're just a vehicle for the discussion, yeah.
And like and rankings are just ratings only, but anyway.
Well, I mean, the ratings are they're a vehicle to the discussion, and they're a very stuttery and awkward vehicle, as we see here. But
listen to what this man is saying.
But the reason we're using them because we love and appreciate all the quirks of this vehicle. Like, it's like an old car that we've had forever, and like, yeah, we should probably upgrade to a Honda, but we love this thing even if it breaks down sometimes, because then we go and walk to a really cool diner in the middle of nowhere.
That was beautiful, Jake.
Yeah.
So I needed to give this. I needed to rate this card a number much higher than my hemoglobin, and you decided, no, fuck you, Adam. You need a blood transfusion now.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I had to do the hemoglobin joke. All right, next.
All right. Courier.
Oh, this was the one I rated 4 out of 10.
Oh yeah, this card sucks. Courier. It is a 4-cost action that gives you $1. It is a 4-cost terminal copper.
Nice.
Discard the top card of your deck. Look through your discard pile. You may play an action or treasure from it. So it's like best case scenario. Let's get the best case out of the way. It's like you have a really good action in your discard pile or a really good treasure, weirdly, I don't know. And this lets you play it again before you shuffle. It's like, that's pretty good, right?
So it's like a peddler that tutors the best action in your deck if your deck sucks.
Yeah.
I actually think that's not the best case. I think finding a gold is probably as good as this card gets. Because this is $4.
Well, I'm talking about this.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about this early on in the game. Let's say you have this early for some reason.
Oh God, why would you do that?
Well, let's say you do, and you have your 3-cost Trasher, and
and
best
you happen to draw it on turn 3.
You get lucky, and you're
so I'm out.
Yeah,
that never happens.
Let's just say you get lucky, and you open your 3-cost Trasher and your 4-cost Courier, and you play your 3-cost Trasher on turn 3, and then on turn 4 you play your 4-cost Courier, and then you got to play your 3-cost Trasher twice.
Yeah, and
that's pretty.
That Trasher was terminal. It was a steward.
Yeah.
Look at you, man. And you got $1.
And you got $1.
You can buy a 2-cost or maybe a 3. I don't think.
Yeah, no, this is all very unrealistic.
Half the time, this card, well, not half the time. Sometimes you discard an estate, and it's the only card in your discard pile, and fuck you.
Yeah, this is not a good card. I don't know what
bad.
else to say. This is just not a good card.
I gave it a 4 out of 10.
I gave it a 4 as well.
Yeah.
Honestly, I could go lower. If you twist my arm, I'll give it a 2. I don't care. It's not a good card.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to have this experience. Every set needs to have a clunker.
Yeah.
And we found it, guys.
We got there.
But to be fair, this is as bad as it gets, and this is decent sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's
not Scout.
If your opponent gives you one of these with Messenger, you're not shaking your fist at the sky. You're like, why'd you do that? No, you have one too. What?
Yeah, it's about the same as if they gave you curses.
Yeah. So there we go.
Nice.
Oh, there's some real disagreement on this one.
Holy crap. All right. Innkeeper. It's a 4-cost. Gives you +1 action, and then choose one. Either +1 card, or +3 cards, then discard 3 cards. So either cantrip or warehouse, or +5 cards, then discard 6 cards. So ultimate sifting, but then decreases your hand size even more.
Yeah.
So 3 options here.
I mean, the sifting is fine. It's just I don't want to spend $4 on an action just to sift for me unless I have something specific that I need to sift to, I have a traveler or something.
So, this is warehouse. It's strictly better than warehouse.
Yeah, but warehouse isn't good.
I mean, warehouse isn't fantastic, but you gave this a 4?
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna buy it very often.
It costs 4 and it doesn't cost 3, but warehouse is better than that.
I don't know.
I don't think 4 versus 3 doesn't matter too much. I don't want to open with warehouse. I don't want to open with this all that much.
Yeah, I honestly I think most games that this is out, you're gonna skip it. I just don't think this is.
I disagree. Most games, you're gonna want at least one of these in your deck. You're gonna get green cards. You need those to win the game, man.
Yeah, but
an innkeeper.
You'd rather just draw your.
You just got a plate with some food on it. Are you hungry, bro?
I am, but but yeah.
Do you want another adventureful?
No, I am good.
You can have the last one. I've had a lot of these.
Okay, I'll take another adventureful.
Nice.
But I do. So I see what you're saying, but a lot of the time, rather than getting innkeepers, I'd rather just get draw, real draw, and just power through my deck and draw the whole thing.
This is not draw.
This is not draw. Yeah.
Unless you discard a bunch of village greens. Actually, I think there's some weird rule if you discard multiple village greens at the same time, then only one of them works. If I discard 6 village greens with this, I can't reveal them all because of some stupid rule.
That does make sense, but I agree it's stupid. Technically, if I read it that way, yeah, correct.
In any case, I first of all, I mean, in a deck that wants to draw, I actually think the flexibility here is at its worst.
Yeah.
I think in a money density deck, if you have this card in your starting hand, you're almost always getting a province.
I think this
money
is like density
better than Embassy.
I think the money density deck though is just getting money. Like that's what would rather just like have better money density than put innkeepers in it.
No, I'm saying that this improves your money density. When we're not
in a weird
when
way,
you say money density and I say we're not talking about the same thing. It turns out.
I guess like terminology.
I don't know if you can hear this. My son is 3, so that means he throws tantrums. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not me this time. But thank you for the cookie. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think that this is going to be bought over just treasures a lot of the time.
This is better than Embassy for big money. And it doesn't even give your opponent a silver. And it's non-terminal.
Yeah.
So sure. You can it plays nice with those other non-terminal money density what's-its or something. And it costs 4. It's not competing with those other illustrious 5-cost delicious payload cards that we got 2 of in Allies.
Plus 5 and discard 6 is
Legionary.
I guess. Sure. Sure, I can go up to a 5.
Nice. So now we basically agree.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I'm willing to go lower than 7. I'm not going to rate this worse than Warehouse. I'm pretty sure I gave Warehouse like a 7. I think this is great. I think it's just better than Warehouse in most cases.
I'd put this similar to Warehouse, sure.
You can cantrip this. Let's say your Trasher opening costs 3. You open this in a Trasher. If I draw this turn 4, I can just play it as a cantrip. Now, I have that option. So the chances of my Trasher missing the shuffle are next to 0. I can either YOLO 50-50, or I have the option of playing it as Warehouse and using my Trasher on turn 4 and causing the shuffle.
Yeah.
It's pretty sexy.
I mean,
and that's not even talking about the plate of food that lady's holding.
Yeah, or the yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Royal Gallery.
Royal Gallery.
So, Royal Gallery is a 4-cost orange card. A 4-cost action duration gives you +1 card. You may play a non-duration action from your hand. So, plays another action out of your hand. If you did, set it aside, and then at the start of your next turn, you play it again. So, you play your Royal Gallery, and you are fortunate enough to line it up with an action. You play that action, and then you play it again. So your reward for having lined up the Royal Gallery is that you play the action an extra time next turn, and you've drawn the card.
Yeah. It's like Throne Room.
It's
only
way, way worse than
only a lot worse.
So, Adam, you gave this a 6. I gave it a 5, but I thought about giving it a 4, so I gave it a 5.5.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
This is a village.
Yeah, it's bad. Is what it is.
I mean, look, I don't give villages low numbers in many cases. I think I give Shantytown a 5 or a 6. Villages are super great. This is not the greatest at being a village, but it is. And Throne Room, I gave that card a 9 out of 10. So
I don't.
With this is a big departure from Throne Room. It's orange. You don't get both of the effects on the same turn. You got to buy twice as many of them to get your
the
actions played, and then. But
I mean, the Throne Room consideration has a lot of asterisks behind it, because a lot of the reason Throne Room is good is because you do get both on the same turn, because getting an effect twice isn't just 2 times of getting it once. It's a different effect when that card is plus action. Throne Room actually generates actions. This will never do that.
I mean, it does, but Throne Room, I think Throne Room is flexible. I can just shove Throne Rooms in my deck, and if I've drawn my deck, all my thrones go to payload cards.
Sure.
And that's great.
Yeah.
Royal Galley really is only good if it's used on deck control.
Oh, it's galley, not gallery.
Whatever.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's a boat, right? I should have maybe figured that
it's fine.
Okay.
No one listens to this podcast anyway.
Yeah, nobody's listening. It's okay. But yeah, that's fine. It's fine.
I mean, this really only is good. It works on payload, but like this, it's not what you want to be doing.
No.
But still, I mean, it's still throne room eventually, so I couldn't give it a number that low. I have never played a game with this card in it ever.
Yeah, it's a whatever card for me. It's like give it a 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I gave it a 5.-5, but yeah.
Yeah, and which I think is totally fair.
Yeah.
I wish I'd given it that.
Yeah. Town.
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 Town is a 4-cost action. Choose one. +1 card and +2 actions. Or +1 buy and +$2. It's either a village or a woodcutter.
That's really good. I mean,
This
fact that...
This is so good.
Yeah, like, getting village and woodcutter in the same, like, card is... Yeah. There's no... There are so few games where you're not going to buy this. Like,
I would buy Village for 4, like, all day. Village for $4 is probably like an 8 or a 9 out of 10 by itself. Probably an 8.
Sure.
Like, that's how good Village is.
Woodcutter for no, yeah.
Woodcutter for 4 is a different story.
Yeah, but
that's why we have
the fact that this is tacked onto a card that can optionally be a village means that you don't have to, like, I don't want to say you don't have to think too much, but you kind of just shove these into your deck and they're gonna be good. Like,
it's true. I mean, it's a cantrip at the very worst, so you never feel bad about putting it in your deck. But you can get super, super, super thin.
Yeah.
And as long as you have one of these, you got payload when you need it.
Yeah.
You can use it as that cantrip mode, even if you're not getting an advantage out of that villagey bit, and find your trashing, do your trashing super efficiently, super fast. And now you have like 2 or 3 towns in your deck.
Yeah.
And you have payload and you didn't have to do anything.
Right.
That's so good.
I give this an 8.
Yeah, and I gave it a 9.
Yeah.
We really agree here. Like, this
go
is
to
just
like 8.2.
solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. 8.2. It's a really good card.
Mm-hmm. This is just, yeah.
So good. Oops, wrong.
Galley again. No, a barbarian. This one's a 5-cost action. Gives you $2, and it's an attack. So 5-cost terminal silver. Each other player trashes the top card of their deck. If it costs 3 or more, they gain a cheaper card that shares a type with it. Otherwise, they gain a curse. I think this is really powerful. This has something of the Knights vibe to it, where this is a very spammable attack, and like a lot of attacks have this pattern where the more times you play it on your opponent, the worse it gets or stops working. This one, the more times you play it on your opponent, the more devastating it is, because you can trash more things out of their deck, and like you can get to this point where you're tearing their deck down faster than they can build it back up. If you build faster than them, we've all played with Knights, we know how this works. Saboteur even had this same kind of thing.
Yeah,
so but this is good. And those cards,
I think you mentioned the Saboteur comparison, and I think the Saboteur comparison is good.
Yeah.
This attack is slightly... The attack portion is slightly weaker than Saboteur in some ways. Saboteur, a lot of the reason it was bad is because you could... If they hit your province, you could get a gold, and you could use the gold to just buy a province later.
Sure.
It didn't really debilitate your opponent's deck unless you could king it. Right?
Yeah.
This one, they have to get 3 less, and it has to share a type. So a lot less options.
And let's not forget, if it misses, quote unquote, they get a curse.
That matters. That's a big deal.
The only time that this is not good is if it hits a junk card. Like if it hits a curse. Yeah. But
but they still, you've skipped it, but like.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go so far as to say you've helped your opponent unless you just straight up skipped a curse. I think the most apt comparison is Giant. The attack is very similar to Giant's attack.
Yeah.
Giant would not always trash the card, but then depending on I don't remember. The problem with Giant is you had to play it twice to get the attack once.
Right.
Now you got more money overall. You get $6 for 2 plays, and the distribution, I would argue, 1 and then 5 is probably better, but than 2 both of the times. But that matters so little because you just want to. You would really like to play this a lot. I think the main problem is this is terminal. and it doesn't draw cards. So like, and it costs 5. So it takes a while to get up to the point where you're playing a lot of these.
This does not help. The Barbarian does not like help you build your deck. It's the card you build your deck around. It's the card you build your deck to play a bunch of. It's like the centerpiece payload of what your turns are. I think that's justified. I think this is a really powerful effect if you play it a lot. I gave this actually a significantly higher rating than Adam did. I gave it like an 8 to 9, 8.5. But Adam, you only give it a 6, yeah?
Yeah, I just think you need a lot of deck control to really justify this.
Yeah, you do.
You need a lot of deck control, and you also need enough payload to be like not just getting one barbarian per turn, or maybe like a barbarian in a village or something.
Maybe, but I actually just think like building that way is okay. Like, I mean, if you can build that way faster, if you can accelerate to like get your barbarians and villages and draw all at once, that's great. But like, man, it's giving me the same vibes as knights do. In fact, it's actually kind of more feels bad for the opponent than knights, because like knights can trash knights and control each other that way. This, like, your barbarian hits the barbarian, oh my god, you've just fallen so... If you're the person who had the barbarian trashed, you just fell behind in so many ways.
The gain is also required, by the way.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we mentioned, but like if I hit your silver, you have to gain that copper.
Yeah, it's like, this is a very brutal attack, and I think like...
If I hit your barbarian, you have to gain that duchess.
Yeah, and I don't know, so like, as far as like... Yeah, this is going to create some very feels-bad games. Like, people are not going to be happy about this in some of the games where it goes off.
I'll agree that it may not be a popular card, but I don't have the same doom and gloom. I think this requires enough support that it's not going to be that big of an issue a lot of the time.
I'm not even doom and gloom. I mean, I would say the same thing about knights, and I love knights.
I trust the playtesters to not let an attack like this be that powerful.
Yeah, I mean... Things are playtested quite yeah, and I just remember from when I was part of playtesting, these things are playtested quite a bit, and gameplay feel is taken into account very strongly. And if this felt that bad that consistently, I would say like they probably would have axed it. But
rip Silversmith.
Silversmith was also stupid in other ways, but like Silversmith wasn't just feel bads, it was also like kind of reduce the kingdom. It doesn't matter. Silversmith doesn't exist. But
you're welcome.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that this has the potential to be very feels bads and very oppressive, and I think you need to respect this card. I think this is a card that like knights, if you just like be like, oh, it's here, I'm gonna play the same way I would if it wasn't, you're gonna lose, and you're gonna have a terrible time losing. It's gonna be a long drawn out loss as well.
That second part of what you said, I do agree with. The respecting the card, I don't know if I would use the R word. I think that's where our differences of opinion is.
When I say respect, I mean build a deck that is capable of playing a lot of them and adjusting to having some of its stuff trashed and stuff like that. But like,
the second part, adjusting to having some of its stuff trash, I agree with. Necessarily build a deck that's capable of playing a lot of them, I don't necessarily agree with.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's where the disagreement is. We've pinpointed it.
I'd have to like play out some games.
We would have to maybe play a game with this card.
Yeah, someday. But yeah, no, it's
nice.
Okay, Capital City. It's like the card Capital, but the card City. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
No,
okay.
Yeah.
Capital City. It's a 5 cost action, +1 card, +2 actions. Village, and then you may discard 2 cards for 2 money. Then you may pay 2 money for 2 cards. I've seen a lot of rules questions. I got a silver in my hand. Why can't I play it and get +2 cards? No, you have to have the 2 money.
Yeah.
This doesn't let you play treasures.
Yeah, I actually want to say that I don't love the design of it for that reason.
I agree with that.
Yeah, the whole aspect of the treasure, the phases, and when you get money and when you don't has always been an awkward sticking point in Dominion rules. And
some people love that, and I am not one of those people.
Yeah, and they made a card that specifically pokes at that rules awkwardness. Yeah. It seems like this was a weird choice.
I agree with that.
But we're not here to evaluate the design. We're here to evaluate the power.
We're here to evaluate both of them.
we will end up doing both. But like, from a power standpoint, I give this a solid like middle of the pack. This is a 5-cost village that has a potential upside. Seems totally fair. We've seen other things like it.
Yeah, you gave it a 5. I gave it a 6. We're not far.
Yeah.
But like, this is a village, and I gave it a 6.
Sure.
But like, it's a 5-cost village, and in the worst case, you can discard 2 and draw 2. Yeah. With no other support or synergy or anything like that, you can do that. You could vault 2 cards. That's a thing you can do. Or if you have magical virtual money, then this draws 3 cards, and it.
Or you could play it with storyteller
money.
And not even you could play this and a storyteller and not even use the second part of the effect and draw 2 cards of storyteller instead.
Wow, that's a thing.
Yeah,
nice. This is just.
It is okay.
I think the synergies are narrow enough that this really just boils down to a 5-cost village with minor upside, and that's expensive, man. Cool.
I gave a thumbs up. I was like, you know what? That's all.
I have nothing else.
I got nothing else either. Contract. So this is a treasure. It is a 5-cost duration treasure. We don't see orange and yellow on the same cards.
It's the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah. So this is $2. So it's a silver as a treasure goes. Gives you a favor token. We're off to a great start. $2 and a favor token.
I think that for 5 is already excellent.
And there's even more text, and it's not bad text.
It's good text.
Yeah. You may set aside an action from your hand to play it at the start of your next turn. Yeah.
It's a village.
These are all. It's like consistent. It lets you seed your hand. It's a village. It gives you stuff you want. These are all great things.
It's a favor, whatever that means.
Yeah. 8 out of 10. I have nothing else really to say about it because like it just there's nothing like particular to this card strategy wise that's worth pointing out. This is all just good stuff. You're gonna buy this a lot and it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10 as well. I just think this is a village.
Sure.
A lot of people are gonna miss that. This is a village.
I mean, yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. Even without that favor token, this is a village.
Yeah, and it's
great.
Yep.
It's like better than silver. All right. Emissary. It's an 5-cost action, plus 3 cards. So I'm in. I will pay 5 for Smithy all day.
Yeah.
Then it says, if this made you shuffle at least 1 card, plus 1 action, and plus 2 favors. If you shuffle with this thing, it's amazing. So good.
It's hard to set that up, worth noting. But it's really, really good.
Gives me Swashy vibes.
Yeah, this is probably like...
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm comparing it mentally to Swashbuckler.
In terms of activating that thing, I'd say it's about as hard. Like, this isn't Slay the Spire. This isn't like that amazing grand finale deck I make in Slay the Spire when I, like, build it around controlling when I shuffle and playing that grand finale at the bottom of the deck.
Yeah.
Like, you don't do that in Dominion so that you can activate your Emissary and get 2 favors and an action. Like, that's not a thing.
Well, it's not. It's close to being a thing, though. Like, I mean, the upside of this is so good, it's almost worth building your whole deck around doing that. Like,
but like the upside is you only get to do it 1 time per turn. And I've tried really hard in my brain to come up with these loops of like I play an Emissary, and then I play a non-terminal gainer, and then I draw that with Emissary, and I made it into a cantrip that gave me 2 favors for 5.
The two favors is a big deal though, and like I'm thinking about like discard for benefit stuff too. Like if you can discard 4 cards and then play your Emissary, and then shuffle that 1 card.
I think discard for benefit in general is just overblown.
I mean, like...
people think it's actually good, and it like never is unless you have Scrying Pool.
I mean, you say that, but like...
I did just say that, yeah.
It's like, it's only overrated and it's only bad until it's not. And like, we get enough cards like this, sometimes it's not bad, you know?
I don't think Emissary is the one that's pushing the needle on this. I think Artificer probably is. I don't think Emissary giving you an action and 2 favors.
I mean, like this goes with Artificer. Like, you play your Artificer, you discard and a thing, and then you play your emissary, and then you do it all again. It's like
there is mild synergy.
Yeah, yep. So yeah, I gave this.
Artificer put something in your Discord. Okay. Yeah.
I gave this an 8.5.
I gave it a 7.
Yeah.
So there is disagreement. I think it boils down to that how often you trigger the thing, right?
Yeah, and I think
I gave this the same score as I would give a 5-cost Smithy, pretty much. I don't think the action in 2 favors happens often enough to really make a big difference.
I will agree. There are going to be a lot of times when it doesn't happen. I just think it's worth adjusting your play to make it happen more often.
Like Grand Finale. Just like Grand Finale.
All right. Galleria. Oh, this is what I thought the Royal Galleria. Okay. So this one's a 5-cost. It gives you 3 money. And so it's a terminal gold for 5. This turn, when you gain a card costing 3 or 4 plus 1 buy. I will point out, this is where we're into new cards for me, where I'm literally seeing these for the first time.
Nice.
Okay, 3 money. When you gain a card this turn costing 3 or 4 plus 1 buy.
So I think terminal gold for 5 is solid.
I think it's not good.
It's pretty good. And then your silvers and your 4 costs, they don't cost buys this turn. And then it has this weird synergy with like workshops and stuff, where you can actually squeeze plus buys out of it and maybe get a couple of provinces per turn.
I'm giving this a 5.
I think that's far-fetched.
I'm giving this a 5 at best. I don't think this is a good card.
I gave it a 7, and that's on the back of the plus 3 money.
Yeah, I mean, the money is the reason you buy this, I think.
The 7 could be generous.
Yeah, I think that this is an action, and essentially, the main thing it does is give you money. And I think actions that just give you money tend to be underwhelming, and sometimes you'll buy them because it's an efficient source of money and you don't care about terminal space. But I don't think that second text thing is going to be relevant that often. I mean, maybe you want 2 villages on your turn and you get 6.
I think that's the main use case. It's cards that cost 3 or 4 can not cost a buy. And the stack of money, this at worst is a workshop, right? Effectively.
Yeah, fair enough. But it at worst being a workshop, that's not good. It costs 5.
That's true. That's true. But you can combine it. It's like what all the new players want to do with workshop. I want to gain a card costing up to 4 and play my 2 coppers and gain a gold. Can I do that?
No.
Sorry, Dominion doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Well, this kind of gets you there. Nah, the numbers don't quite add up, but
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, give it a 5, and if I'm feeling generous.
All right. Now for the same card. Guildmaster. It's a 5-cost action.
Well, this is different. Okay.
It gives you plus $3. It's terminal gold.
Yeah.
And then it says this turn when you gain a card, plus 1 favor.
Okay,
so there's no cost restriction, but instead of giving you a buy, it gives you a favor.
I would rate this higher, I think. Because
I rated this lower.
I know. I would rate this higher, and the cop-out reason is, well, it depends on the allies. But, I think that we've seen enough of the allies that, on average, the allies are going to make this, a okay card to play around a bit.
A lot of the times with the Galleria, you may not make use of the buy, and then you just played a terminal gold, womp womp. Here, at least you're getting a favor, and that's most of the time going to be better than nothing.
Yeah.
So, I'll give you that. On the other hand, I think that the buy thing is just overall slightly better. I think I should have given these two the same freaking number now that I think about it. Just giving them different numbers just seems bizarre to me. They're the same card.
I'm giving them the same number. I'm giving it a 5 if I'm feeling generous.
I wish I was as good at Dominion as Jake.
Yeah, that's...
Highwayman.
Duration attack. So it's a 5 mana card. It costs... you play it at the start of your next turn. Discard this from play, and plus 3 cards. Okay, let's come back to that. That's significant.
Yeah.
But until then, the first treasure each other player plays this turn does nothing. That is funny.
Even if it's silver, which is back-breaking.
Yeah, okay.
All that happiness, this can take it right away. Just, punch you right in the...
So this is terminal draw, but it says discard this from play and draw 3 cards, which means that you can discard this and then draw it right back with other cards or with itself, right?
You don't need 2 of these to get the attack in play every turn.
Yeah.
You don't need 2 of these to get the duration draw every turn.
And that's huge.
And if you discard it, you're going to draw at the end of the turn when you want to draw a card like this.
Okay.
So that's a big deal.
I think all of that together means that you're buying this card, and your opponents are buying this card.
If there's a village,
yeah,
I'm almost certainly buying this card.
Yeah, I
if
think
there's not a village, probably. I mean,
the fact that the non-attack part of this is so good means that the attack part is really significant because it's going to happen. And that means that maybe you don't prioritize treasure trashing as much because
it's like a -1 token in most cases, especially against the money density deck.
Yeah,
and I think those draw your deck ones, they keep a copper around, right?
Yeah, I think you keep a copper around it because of Highwaymen. It makes you adjust your play.
Good new experience.
Yeah, cool. Good, well-designed card.
I gave this a 7, and now that we're talking about it, I'm leaning towards 8 a little bit.
Yeah, I'd go to maybe even 8.4, 8.5.
This just compares favorably to Haunted Woods in almost every way. I mean, the attack is different, and Haunted Woods can really screw you over, especially with night cards and stuff. But...
Yeah, but like, yeah, the +3 cards is huge. This is just a good card. Yeah.
All right. This was like day 1 of preview week, so a lot of people have had a lot of experience with this card.
Okay.
Hunter, $5 action. +1 action. Reveal the top 3 cards of your deck from those cards. Put an action, a treasure, and a victory card into your hand. Discard the rest. So it's kind of like Lab. It's kind of like Seer. Has the upside of being +3 cards, +1 action.
This is like...
This is Lab.
Yeah, this is Lab.
I'm giving this the same number I gave Lab, 8 out of 10.
8 seems totally reasonable.
If you trash estates, sometimes it's a little worse. But then you get provinces and it's a little better sometimes. I don't know.
This is a Lab that can be bad. This is a Lab that can be a cantrip and make you want to...
Every f***ing time I'm going to draw 3 treasures and then 3 actions with 2 hunters. Anyway.
Right.
Modify.
Modify, trash a card from your hand, then choose one, +1 card and +1 action, or gain a card costing up to 2 more than the trashed card. So you always trash the card, and then either you've cantrip or you remodel it. It seems good. Yeah, 7 or 8, easy.
Yeah. I gave this card a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think the combination of these things is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
This trashes coppers like no other remodeler can do in the game.
True.
Replace makes you less sad to do it because you junk your opponent as much as you junk yourself. But it's still not that super great. It doesn't really thin your deck all that much. Modify can thin your deck and remodel all in one card. It can be non-terminal if you really want it to be.
Yeah, this is a card like you gain remodel to turn golds into provinces a good number of games. You gain your upgrade to trash things and they cantrip a good number of games too. A lot of the times you do both of those in the same game. Like these are, and like you just accept that those cards are going to be dead at various points throughout the game.
And if you don't want to trash anything, Modify is dead. So
yeah, well, sure, but like. This is going to be dead a lot less often because of that combination. So yeah, 7. I rate this as 7 through 9.
I think this is only very slightly worse than Butcher.
Ooh.
Because you can't modify into province, and you can butcher into province. I think that's the kind of edge that Butcher has.
Butcher is coin tokens though.
I mean, Butcher is amazing. Butcher is a 9 out of 10. I gave this a worse 9 out of 10 than Butcher.
This is your 9.-1 out of 10.
Yeah, something like that.
I
think Modify is one of the best cards in this set. This is a really good card.
Very strong, yeah. No disagreement.
All right.
Skirmisher.
It's a 5 cost, +1 card, +1 action, +$1. 5 cost peddler. Then it says, this turn, when you gain an attack card, each other player discards down to 3 in hand. And this is an attack card. So it militias, and it's a peddler, but you have to gain an attack card to actually do the attack. And this is 5, so you could buy it and militia your opponents.
I think that the main use case for this is some of the other attack synergy we saw. Like, there were some other things that said that referenced attack cards, and this is like, oh, I want a deck that has a high density of attack cards. And so this is a cantrip attack.
Clashes.
This is a cantrip attack that, incentivizes more attacks.
I'll give you that. I think the main synergy this has is with gainers that can gain fibers. Mostly this. Like
oh, you mean just as
University
the peddler, yeah.
Vampire. I'm looking at those.
Yeah, I mean, just because it's the peddler, sure, yeah. I mean, this is fine. Like,
other than that, I think it's like underwhelming as a 5-cost peddler.
Yeah, I give this a 5 or a 6.
I gave it a 6.
Yeah,
so not too much disagreement there.
Okay,
you didn't see this slide.
I did see the slide. Yeah.
This is Specialist.
Specialist is a 5-cost action. You may play an action or treasure from your hand. Choose one. Either play it again or gain a copy of it. Oh, that's really good. That's like, yeah, 8 or 9 easy. Like,
Throne Room for 5, I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, like this is either Throne Room or gaining more of it. Like, that's just,
or it's like most of Disciple, right? I think the comparison here is Disciple.
Well,
you don't get the second play.
It's like
if
half
you want to gain
Disciple.
it, you get the choice, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's like 2/3 of Disciple, and you get the better 2/3 of it.
It's like half of Disciple.
And you can Specialist a Specialist.
True.
And flood your deck with these. You can't. I mean, you can Disciple a Disciple, but you don't gain additional Disciples.
Yeah, I mean, this is really good.
And then also there is now a Dominion card called Specialist. And if you're a Survivor fan like myself, you immediately think of Philip Shepard. One of my favorite people to be on my television.
So, yeah, good things for everybody.
I read the book. It was, I'm glad I read it.
And glad I'm not reading it.
Yeah.
No, but, yeah. It's 9
out of 10.
8 out of 10. 8 out of 10.
Wow, I think this deserves a Jake 9. This is a higher 9. I think this is arguably maybe the best card in the set.
I mean, it's a really good card. I'm kind of just giving a different number. Like,
oh, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, no. Okay, so Swap.
Swap is a 5-cost action. +1 card, +1 action. It says you may return an action card from your hand to its pile to gain to your hand, a different action card costing up to 5.
That's hilarious.
I have played one game with this card and it had Falconer in it.
Mm-hmm.
And Cavalry. If you gain a Falconer to your hand, you gain a card with multiple types, so you can just play the Falconer. And then Cavalry, when you gain it, like, draws 2 cards.
Yeah. No, I mean...
Okay, so that's ridiculous.
Yeah, this card is also hilarious. I really like this because there are a lot of
really cool card.
Yeah, your trashers and things. A lot of the time, you are gonna want to be done with them.
Or if my hand kind of sucks and I wish I had something else.
Yeah, I was
this can get it.
I put all these bad cards in my deck. My opponent has good cards. What do they gain? I want that. Yeah, you take the swap preemptively because you know you're gonna screw up. And
it's like getting a smuggler's.
Yeah.
I don't know what I want, but I know that guy's better at Dominion than me. Yeah. Let's get what he's getting.
Yeah, I'll take what he's
I'll
having.
have what she's having.
Yeah. Yeah, good card.
I gave this a 7 out of 10 because a lot of the times just doesn't find its place.
Sure.
And it's just a cantrip for 5, so it can be a little expensive. But like,
I mean, I think that this is gonna really need to be like a good strategic option to take a swap. You're gonna need to have some synergy with it. Like, you need that on game.
Situational cards, like the Band of Misfits kind of thing.
Yeah, I think you need what you were talking about. Like, you need that on game stuff to be good.
Gaining to your hand, it can really come in clutch.
But even what's the flag? Flag can be
Flag bearer.
Yeah, flag bearer can be another reason to go for this. Yeah,
you're not trashing it, but you can just gain them. Play it.
Yeah.
Get $2 or
sure.
Don't play it. I don't care. Return it.
Yeah, I mean you can you can fight for the flag without having to make your deck terrible. That's
infinitely.
Fine. Yeah,
it goes back to the pile. Nice.
Yeah.
Number. You got to give me a number, man.
Oh,
You can give it a 7. It's fine.
Oh, man. I'm going to give it 7 times 2 divided by... Okay.
All right. This is the last card.
Marquis.
6. Marquis.
So, gives you plus buy. It's a 6 cost terminal, plus buy, plus 1 card per card in your hand, then discard down to 10 in hand. I mean, this is just like a very simple card, right? This is plus buy, draw a bunch.
Yeah.
Drop to 10. That's, yeah, I mean, this is like, what's that one? Council Room, but like, it's capped, but it doesn't let your opponent draw. Yeah,
yeah, Council Room is a comparison I actually didn't think of. I looked at this card and I saw Hunting Grounds with a buy. That's what I saw.
Sure.
And like, sure, you only get to have 10 cards in hand after you play it, so like, it's not. I mean, this can really only draw you 5 cards. Yeah. With maybe some extra sifting. If you had a big hand, maybe you don't want that. Like, it can be a little tricky to draw every single card in your deck with this, but you can for sure draw the important ones.
And if you have discard for benefit,
that really doesn't. I mean, you can only use it in a limited way.
But if you have it,
there you go. I give this a 9 out of 10. I like Hunting Grounds is great. I think I give it like an 8 maybe, and this just seems to me like Hunting Grounds in a buy, and like getting a lot of cards in a buy is just really good.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, I'd give this an 8. 8.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, not much more to say about it. It's a bunch of cards in a buy. We've seen that card before, and it's a good card.
Yeah.
In various permutations.
Yeah, I would agree. So, like, I mean, this is a long podcast, so all these set reviews are.
Yeah, right.
A couple things to say. I have not spoken to Wandering Winter recently about whether or not he's going to do one of these for the podcast. He might have one on his channel. Sure. If he does one on his channel and not for the podcast, link it in the show notes.
Yeah.
If he does one for the podcast, I'll get around to editing it, but I'm going to be honest, like, I'm probably going to edit and publish this tomorrow on Monday, and then I'm going to be out of town for, like, a week. So it's going to come out much later than this. His takes will probably be just as hot. That's not true. He's going to actually play games with the cards, but...
His takes will still be lukewarm, though, because...
yeah, like...
they'll be medium.
Yeah, they'll be like the way my wife likes to drink her coffee, as opposed to the way I like to drink my tea, which is what we're doing right here.
Yeah, right.
So there's that. The other thing is, around the same time this episode is going to be published in March of 2022, I'm going to be releasing my my little poll where we get our first impressions of all of the Allies cards.
Okay.
And then like a few months later, we'll do another one to see how the first impressions have changed. I've done this for the last several expansions. It's part of my card rating stuff. So I'm definitely going to link that in the description. Go ahead and fill it out. Like, you have nothing to lose. Just like...
Accept your dignity.
Accept your dignity. You can do it anonymously if you really want.
Oh, don't worry. That won't stop.
But, just getting an idea of people's first impressions of the cards and then seeing how they change is always a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
And so I encourage, go ahead and do that. Link in the description. Or if you're not watching this on YouTube, just go to adamhorton.com and it'll be like one of my blog posts. It'll be somewhere towards the top, hopefully. And if it's not, that means you've listened to this far enough in the future where the poll will be closed. Because I'm only going to keep it open for like a week, maybe slightly longer.
Yeah.
Because I'll be out of town. It's like kind of sort of becoming safe for me to do things like leave the house. And I got to get the fuck out of here, man.
Yeah, I feel you. Like
these past 2 years have been the most miserable fucking bull slog of my entire life for me and my family. And like...
Adam's been playing a mountebank game in real life for 2 years.
That's like such a good analogy. Oh my god. Only every time they play a mountebank, I never have a curse. Not a single time.
No, you draw your curses the next
And there's
time.
55 curses in the pile because fuck you.
Yeah.
And I have not hit 5 a single time. I opened double silver and they opened mountebank and somehow I didn't. Oh my god. I would really like to get back to doing this, playing some more Dominion.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We did this podcast.
Yeah.
Jake, you're a human being. You're an adult with a pulse. and just conversing with you and like.
It's like, all right, how sure are we? Yeah.
It's good to have you here on the podcast.
No, good to be here.
I know Dominion may not be your favorite game anymore.
I will.
But I think we should definitely play some with this expansion a little bit.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
I need to get more allies in my life. I need to do this. Got my IRL tournament coming up in about a month from today.
I'll
link to that
there.
In the description. I really hope you're there. If you're not, we're no longer friends.
No, I will definitely try to be.
I still have your Dominion set back there that I'm going to use for the tournament. And, I'm going to buy a set of allies and get you the nice dividers and everything.
You don't have to do that, but thank you.
But, in exchange for me basically owning your Dominion set, I want to have the second copy of allies anyway for that purpose. So it's happening. And if you ever want it back, like, it is yours, no question.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks.
No, I appreciate it. Jake's a good guy. He put up with a lot of stuff to do so much of this podcast. And
anytime.
Without him, the podcast really isn't what it is. Without me, the podcast isn't what it is because I do like the editing and publishing, and that's its own separate issue. But like your contribution to the podcast and just like the life in general and like the chemistry we have, like this is really sad, but like a lot of times the only way I can interact with the world is to watch a video, and sometimes I'll go watch an old episode of the podcast and be like, we were on fire. We were comedy gold. Like, it was so good. And, like, I'm just really thankful for that time that we had.
I am, too.
I have 2 kids now, and I can barely function. So, like, I'm not in a place to do it. And I assume you aren't either. But, like, Dominion is still my favorite game. It's a game I enjoy playing and talking about.
Yeah. And it's got a lot of potential as like a really replayable, infinitely replayable game that way. Yeah, for sure.
So hopefully this gets you playing just a little bit, and hopefully with me because I enjoy human opponents.
Yeah, definitely, as opposed to the bot who names a state.
But I'm also
sorcerer.
But I'm also like really flaky like all the time, which you've noticed.
No, it's all good, man.
That's just my life.
Well, luckily there's an online client, and that'll helps. That helps a lot with that. A lot. Yeah.
But, and to you, the listener, I know, like, there really hasn't been that much content, and I just can't tell you when there will be a regular streamer, if it'll ever happen again, but dang it, if there's something to be podcasted about and I can find someone to do it with, and I can, it's gonna happen. It's just that life is
those pods.
Life is a big question mark for a lot of us in these unprecedented, trying times.
Yeah.
Some bullshit like that, and, anyway, I got a little bit sappier than what I intended there, but
that's all right. It's what we're about here on Making Luck, Dominion Podcast.
Did you like the cookies?
No, yeah, the cookies are great. Absolutely. Nice. It's weird. It's like a feeling of deja vu, where everything seems so familiar because I spent so much time in it before, but also so foreign because it's been so long. Like the other day, I was Googling the word Margrave just to see what famous Margraves in history were, and I just saw this picture in Google Images that came up, and I'm like, that picture looks familiar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like how I felt when I saw this.
Yeah, probably exactly. Like,
I think you don't have to show the camera.
Okay.
Like,
they can Google this, but this is still so crazy to me that this just randomly happened.
Yeah, it is.